Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, this is Chris, and we are here for another live episode of Final Score, episode 39. And we're getting near the end of the year. It's been getting a little bit cold, a little bit chilly, but we also are getting deep into the season when it comes to college and pro football. It's been so exciting. So much has been going on. I'm hyped.
Yeah, it's been a little chilly here, but college football is red hot. I mean, if you are a fan of college football, it has been. It's already been off to a great start with the Pac-12 championship last night.
Oh, man.
Which I guess really wasn't much of a game if you really think about it.
Yeah, you know. They showed up for a quarter, right? You know?
Yeah, Utah showed up for a quarter, 15 points in the third quarter, but they were still down 20-0 at halftime.
Yes, it was, but we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit more. But make sure that if you want to keep up to date on all things Final Score, that you have to follow us on all of our social media outlets. It's really simple. If you're watching us live, you can see it on your screen. Just check us out on social media. Go at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Or as you see right above me, there it is. How amazing that is. Yeah, we're making little updates here. It's so much fun.
All the new bells and whistles. It's really funny.
Little bells and whistles, you know. And then, of course, if you want to watch all of our great episodes and content that we put out, you just have to check out all of our content platforms down below: Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, and, of course, Google Play Music. And it's right there. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm not going to lie.
You are having way too. You showed me that before the show, and you were having way too much fun with that.
It's like a kid in a candy store.
You need to calm down, sir.
All right. I'm going to start clicking it now. All right. But still, like I said, we have a lot to cover. And first things first, we've got to look at college football and our weekly pick'ems, because now we are in conference championship week, and it's going to be wild.
Yeah, we've got all the slate of games are happening today. And, of course, you know, this is where all the implications come in. I mean, you've got Utah was in a great position to make the college football playoff and to break us up with the monotony of having, you know, Alabama and Clemson and Oklahoma and
dare I say
another one.
Dare I say this is like one of the first times Alabama hasn't been in the college football playoff?
I think it's the first time they've never been in the playoff.
Exactly. This is it's good times. We live in amazing times now. 2019.
But we're still going to get three other teams that have been in the playoff at least multiple times.
That's true. But looking at it, though, we still have to get through all the slate of games because there's a lot of ways all of this could play out. But the biggest thing that we were talking about earlier was the Pac-12 championship game that took place last night between number 6 Utah and number 14 Oregon. Utah coming in hot at 11-1. That only blemish being to a very pesky USC team. But Oregon has been having a very nice, quiet 10-2 season since losing their opener. So it's very interesting to see. Now we finally got the two teams in the Pac-12 we wanted to see play each other.
The argument that you have to look at here, if you are Oregon, what was the point? Essentially, what was the point of playing Auburn?
To try and look good.
Think about it. But think about it. You play Auburn, it's a close game, you lose. Mm-hmm. You're already off to an 0-1 start. You can only go up from there. Now, this right here was a playoff game.
Absolutely.
Absolutely was a playoff game for Utah. Because obviously they win, you're in the college football playoff. You lose, your season's basically over. You're not going to the Rose Bowl. You're not going to the playoff. Your season's, you can hang your hat on an 11-win season, but it's not really what your expectation was. You know what I mean?
No, they definitely fell way short of what they were trying to get.
Yeah, and if you're Oregon, awesome. You got an 11-win season. You're going to the Rose Bowl. Had you not lost against Arizona State, which I think is the bigger telling reason why they're not in. You lose that game late in the season, there was your playoff game.
Absolutely, because the Auburn loss at least was the first game of the season, and as some would look at it, a quality loss at that, because Auburn's been a very pesky team, even knocked off Auburn. So, and all of their losses have been to top 10 teams. So looking all the way through it, Oregon could have survived that one and been able to still make it had they not lost to Arizona State. But hey, hats off to Herm Edwards.
Yeah, Herm Edwards has got them playing on a good track. He's got him on a good track. But realistically, you look at this game. I'm looking at the rushing game. You had Verdell from Oregon, who had over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a long of 70 yards. But looking at how good of a run defense Utah had coming in was probably one of the biggest surprises of the game.
Absolutely, but looking at both the quarterback play really wasn't all there. Both either just underperforming or just making flat-out mistakes. Tyler Huntley of Utah ended up throwing 2 interceptions in this game and just did not look comfortable at any point against his Oregon defense. But the rushing game was there. They were able to get 19 carries and 113 yards out of Zach Moss, but couldn't get it in the end zone. And that's the thing that I think plagued Utah all night. They didn't show up for 3 quarters of this game. You hit the third quarter and you're able to show up a little bit, but it was too little too late, and Oregon was able to clamp back down in the fourth quarter.
And that was kind of the story of the game. Oregon came out hot. They got off to that 20-0 lead, and they kept it rolling the whole game. Like we're talking about this before the show, that it was Utah had the most to lose here, but it was a game that you felt like Oregon was winning this game.
I really wish I would have changed my pick. I something told me right before the game started I probably should change my pick on this
I did too, actually.
But at the end of the day, though, CJ Verdell and that rushing attack was absolutely on fire. 18 rushes, 208 yards, 3 touchdowns, looking amazing, and had some nice long runs. It was a great game for Oregon, and a lot of people expected this at the beginning of the season, but once we got late in the season, we really thought Utah was going to be the team to beat. But Oregon proved why they are now Pac-12 champions.
And now looking ahead, Utah, you don't know, they're going to go to a decent bowl game that's Pac-12 affiliated. But Oregon, now they're going to await to see who are they going to play in the Rose Bowl. Is it going to be Wisconsin? Is it going to be Penn State? My money's on Wisconsin because they're in the Big Ten championship game.
That's true. Because the Big Ten champion, if it ends up being Ohio State, would end up in the college football playoff,
and
opening
then the
up that Rose Bowl
highest
spot.
Team, goes to the Rose Bowl.
So looking at some of these other games that we have, there's so many on slate for today, starting with the Big 12 championship game between Baylor and Oklahoma, both coming in at 11-1. And let's not forget, these teams did play each other not too long ago with the infamous 28-3 comeback win for Oklahoma, who ended up taking this one late. So I definitely want to see how they're going to do in this rematch. This could be a very exciting game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be just another classic, just like the previous one. I do think Oklahoma's going to win again. I think they're going to have a really strong argument to try to get in the college football playoff. And the argument here is, well, Baylor's only lost to Oklahoma. Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. Yeah, but Kansas State's 8-4. They're not like a 3-win team or a 4-win team.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know, Georgia lost to South Carolina. But, whatever. And I digress. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma here. Jalen Hurts is just too much of a dual threat. And you saw what he did in the last game. You saw how they had to come back. I don't think they get in that deep of a hole this time. I think it'll be a tight game majority of the way. It might even turn out like the Oregon game last night.
It really could.
Oklahoma's offense is that powerful that... And there's no defense in this league, so
no, absolutely not.
I'm going to go with my money's on Oklahoma, though.
My money's also on Oklahoma, just because they played too good of a brand of football, especially with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, to be able to let this one go. They are a well-coached team that's able to handle these types of high-pressure situations. So I fully expect them to be able to come in and be able to take care of business. But Baylor is not going to make it easy. I don't think Oklahoma will slip in a hole, but I think Baylor, though, will still keep this one close all the way throughout. I just feel Oklahoma is going to have just enough talent, though, to be able to pull this one out real close. And watch out, Oklahoma now might end up in the college football playoff if they're able to pull this out. And if they make it dominating, they might have a very strong case for it, too.
I think if they win, they're in. But this is also predicated on the fact that LSU handles their business. Yes. Ohio State handles their business.
Yes.
You're just assuming that the top teams are going to do what they need to do. And if it comes down to that fourth team, well, Utah's out. Oregon's not getting in. Oklahoma's probably going to be the pick here.
More than likely.
But just real quick, the spread here is -9 for Oklahoma.
Yes.
Oklahoma's favored by 9. So are you gonna take Baylor to cover or what?
I think Baylor will cover.
Think Baylor's going to cover?
I think it's going to be another 4-point game. Honestly, I think it's going to be real close all the way to the end. But I think it's going to come up with a Baylor comeback that's going to come up just short. Just short. But our next game, Central Michigan, Miami of Ohio for the MAC championship. We're going to see some action today.
We're getting some action today at noon.
Yeah, Central Michigan favored by 6.5 in this one. Central Michigan coming in at 8-4. Miami of Ohio at 7-5. This one really could be, I feel like, a toss-up. Miami of Ohio has been able to pull themselves through some games, but Central Michigan has looked, I feel, more solid of a team in a lot of their showing. So I'm taking Central Michigan in this one.
I'm gonna take the school from Mount Pleasant as well.
Don't even want to say the name. It's another Ohio State debacle we're having here.
That school in Mount Pleasant is the biggest rival for my school, Western Michigan. If you're watching right now, you see this big flag right here. I went to Western Michigan University, Kalamazoo, go Broncos.
It's not for show.
But yeah, it's not for show. Realistically, Western Michigan should be in this game, but Tim Lester happened, so that's that. What Jim McElwain has done for the Chips in this team in such a short amount of time is, I think, it's really funny because he can recruit well, he can coach well, and it's just a testament to show that if you get a talented coach in a program, doesn't matter what level it is, they're going to succeed.
Absolutely.
Jim McElwain has showed that already in such short order at Central Michigan. So I think they're just going to keep it rolling. They're favored by 6.5. I'm going to take Central Michigan to cover and then win the MAC title, and they're going to play in a bowl game. I think it's at Ford Field every year. The MAC champion plays somebody from the Big Ten, I think.
Yes. That should be a very interesting matchup. We'll definitely see how that plays out. But then our Sun Belt Championship game, also at noon, as these other two ones were, UL Lafayette, good old Louisiana Lafayette, taking on Appalachian State, who I feel like is kind of getting into form to how they were when they were in the FCS, showing that they're pretty dominant now at 11-1 and ranked. Hey, 2007 wasn't a fluke, sir. I think it was just a precursor to now. Just saying. Well,
you got to look at one thing. They had this is a rematch of last year's game where App State won 30-19. Both of these two teams are good. I mean, obviously got two 10+ win teams here. I'm looking at App State's junior quarterback. I forget his name at the time. For some reason, I'm sorry. I forget his name right now.
It's been that kind of morning for us. Don't mind us. I had to chug almost a pot of coffee just to be able to get in the studio
we've got our coffee here right with us for Saturday morning. But this offense, Zach Thomas, thank you. I don't know why I was forgetting that. But he's been a great starter. I mean, he's had a 21-3 record, if I'm not mistaken, and he's a dual threat. He's run for almost 400 yards on the year. He's thrown for 2,400 yards on the year. App State's favored by 6. I'm going to say that Lafayette covers, but I'm taking App State here.
I think App State's not only going to take this one, but I think that they're going to be able to run away with this one a little bit, and I think they'll more than cover. I think it's going to be like a 10-point win because App State has been able to show, even against really good competition, that they can come out and play with anybody. And it's not even just that I feel like they're a good team. It's the culture. It's the swagger they have. They feel like they can win every single week. And I think that's what's helped push them to this point where they are now 11-1, ranked, and showing that, hey, App State was no fluke as being a very dominant multi-time champion in FCS, has been able to knock off ranked big teams in D1 here in FBS. They've been able to do it all. App State's just taking that next step and showing why they are the type of program that they are. But looking at our next game, Conference USA Championship game at 1:30, UAB at 9-3, traveling to Florida Atlantic. The Lane Kiffin-led Owls, also 9-3. Florida Atlantic's favored by 8.5 in this one. Who do you got?
This is going to be a really intriguing game because of everything that's surrounding Lane Kiffin. There's a lot of reports we're going to talk about in a minute that he's going to be leaving for Ole Miss. So, but with that, this is the second conference championship game for Lane Kiffin and the Owls in 3 years. They're the 2017 champion. I think this really depends on if Lane Kiffin coaches the bowl game or not. If he's in the bowl game, this is always a funny scenario whenever this happens. If a coach leaves, the team either just folds because they fold under pressure because their coach is gone, or they go, you know what, you're leaving us, we're going to show you that we can win without you, and they go out and crush. So I'm going to take the latter here, and I'm going to take Florida Atlantic, favored by 8.5. Man, I think I don't know. I don't know if I'd pick the over on this.
Honestly, I feel like FAU at this point is a really good team. Talent is there. They are able to contend in their own conference and be able to make waves. I don't know if they'll cover, but I think they'll definitely win this game. But I feel the same way, is that even if they win this game, become Conference USA champions, go on to a great bowl game as a 10-win team, I don't know how they're going to be able to perform, because we're going to be sitting here wondering if Lane Kiffin's even going to coach the game. Because how many big-time coaches have we seen that bolt directly for the new program before they even get to the bowl game? Let's think about it. Brian Kelly was a big one. Left Cincinnati right before their bowl game in the Sugar Bowl against Florida to come to Notre Dame. That was one of the biggest ones, and Cincinnati just flat out folded in that game. Ended up losing by double digits. I think it was almost a 30-point, 40-point loss. Just bad. And when you see that, I agree. Teams aren't always able to step up in those types of situations. So even if they win the Conference USA Championship, I don't know if they're going to be able to contend in a bowl game if he's not there.
These smaller schools, it's easier for them to rebound. Like Scott Frost, UCF, they still won their bowl game after that. But, I mean, when you've got teams like Cincinnati who's playing against a powerhouse like a Florida, that's a bit different of a gap if you don't have your leader there with you on the field. But I think this will be easier for Florida Atlantic to rebound if Lane Kiffin does in fact decide to leave. But it makes sense for that coach to leave. I'll wait for the next segment to talk about that.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be going on with that, especially with the Conference USA champion. Might end up landing in a bowl that ended up helping them be able to pull off that win. So it really depends on who they get matched up with when they get to that point. But looking at some of our other games that we have going on, the AAC championship game, that's right, the American Athletic Conference between number 19 Cincinnati and number 18 Memphis. Memphis at home, favored by 10, coming in at 11-1, having just beaten Cincinnati not too long ago, coming in at 10-2. That game, honestly, was an extremely entertaining game. Are we going to have fireworks the second time around?
I think this is going to be a close game again. This is going to be just like the previous matchup here. This game is going to dictate who is the New Year's Six Bowl team, essentially, because you do have Memphis that's sitting at, I think they changed the rankings. It's 17-20 now, if I'm not mistaken. These rankings were before the updated college football playoff.
Yes, that is true.
So
we like to get our work done early.
But yeah, and other than that, you've got Boise State's at 19. So realistically, if Memphis wins, they're probably going to be the next team to make a New Year's Six Bowl game from the group of five. In this case, I'm going to take Memphis here just because of their offense and what they're able to do. That offense is very high-powered, but there's also rumors that Memphis's coach Norvell might be going to Florida State, which that's another thing we're talking about in our latest news. But I'm going to take Memphis, their offense. They've done it once. I think they'll do it again, and they will be the group of five team that will play in the New Year's Six Bowl game.
When it comes to this matchup, even though Memphis did win the last game between these two teams just mere weeks ago, I think Cincinnati is in a very advantageous position with this game. They've been able to sit back, look at their mistakes, see where they need to capitalize and where they need to shore up issues that they have in their offense and their defense and their special teams to be able to try and take this game from Memphis. Cincinnati at this point is not going to be that representative of the small non-Power 5 schools. They are going to end up being the spoiler. They want to spoil Memphis now because they've already lost to Memphis. There's already a chip on their shoulder. So I think Cincinnati has a very, very good case to come in here and be able to upset Memphis behind a great running game. They just need manageable passing in this game and a defense just to hold a couple Memphis drives down to where they're not going to get any points. And I think Cincinnati really can take this one. I think Cincinnati's going to take this one. It'll be about a 3-point game, but Cincinnati's going to take it.
And this is the first conference championship for Cincinnati this year.
Yes.
Memphis is playing in their third straight AAC title game.
That is true.
That's a fun little storyline if you're into the stories.
That's right.
That's a very good storyline for this game. But SEC championship game, one of in my opinion, this is going to be the biggest game of the day.
Absolutely.
You got number 2 LSU undefeated, 12-0, 7-point favorite over number 4 Georgia, 11-1. Realistically, Georgia wins, they're in the playoff.
Absolutely.
LSU wins, obviously they're in the playoff, but it's basically winner goes to the playoff. We're both taking LSU in this game.
Absolutely.
But what happens? Of course, let's just throw out doomsday.
I was going to throw out the speculation.
Let's throw out doomsday. What happens if Georgia wins?
Ooh, it makes it very tough to keep LSU out given the amount of just how dominant they've been with every single team. So many double digit point wins, so many quality wins against Florida, Alabama. Honestly, that score is not as close. That game as a whole, I'm sorry, was not as close as the score showed. They were just able to go out and just really show how Ed Orgeron has been able to take this program and just turn it completely around from the Les Miles days. Because remember, at the end of the Les Miles days, LSU couldn't beat anybody. They lost to Notre Dame twice in bowl games over that the late span of Les Miles' tenure there. So it's been great to see them come back to the top undefeated. But if they lose to Georgia and it's, say, a 3-point game, does LSU still squeak in? Do you bring them in at number 4? And we end up with 2 SEC teams in the playoff again? Because remember, we had this happen not too long ago between Alabama and Georgia, where Georgia ended up making it, ended up getting all the way to the championship against Alabama. We had a rematch. So it's crazy to see how this could play out. If Georgia wins by more than a touchdown, I think LSU might slip just far enough out, even with the kind of wins they've had. But it's really tough to call. You don't really know how the College Football Playoff Committee is really going to look at these two teams at that point if LSU were to lose to Georgia. I think it's honestly a toss-up because they've really thrown, I feel, all the fans, all the voters, all the media, everybody in a tizzle every single time they come out in rankings. Like most notably with Alabama losing, a lot of people drop them into the bottom part of the top 10, which I felt was adequate given
I've
how
seen them as
hard
far
they
down as
battled.
13.
But that's the thing. The College Football Playoff Committee put them all the way down to 12. Outside of the top 10. A lot of people didn't really see that in a lot of different polls. So,
and it's really funny. I think they did that for
shock value?
Not necessarily that, but look at the teams that are ahead of them. A lot of those teams, Wisconsin being one of them, they're in a conference championship game.
That's true.
Baylor and Oklahoma both in the top 10. They are in conference championship games. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. Alabama lost. They lost to a rival who was ranked much lower than them.
And now have 2 losses.
They're not playing in a conference championship game. Why should they be in the top 10?
I agree.
There's no business for them to be in the top 10. Are they one of the best 10 teams in the country? Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
But you only are as good as your last game.
Absolutely. And that was a loss to Auburn.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, like the AP still has them in the top 10 at number 9, which I don't necessarily agree with. But like I said, with the college football playoff rankings, they fell all the way to 12. But still, you got teams like Penn State, Florida, obviously Auburn still coming in ahead of them. Wisconsin's there, but they are playing for a conference championship. So it's interesting to see how the pecking order has been. I feel like if LSU loses this game, depending upon the outcome of the Oklahoma-Baylor game, I think LSU makes it in at number 4. I absolutely believe that. I feel if it's close and they lose by 3 or less, that LSU deserves to be in still.
It'll be really hard to keep LSU out if they, in fact, lose to Georgia. The last time LSU won the SEC title was against Georgia. It was about 8 years ago, I think, already.
That's right.
It's been that long ago already.
Oh, man, I'm aging.
But it's going to be really tough to keep LSU out. I mean, make all the arguments you want, but who would you rather have? Would you rather have a one-loss LSU team or Oklahoma, a one-loss Oklahoma, where the one loss for LSU was in the SEC title game against a one-loss Georgia,
and the SEC champion now, and then Oklahoma, who wins the Big 12 but lost to an 8-4 Kansas State team on the road. Yeah, absolutely. You have to, just with that kind of eye test, put LSU in, but we'll definitely see how it shakes out. We got to play the games first. It's why we have them.
Absolutely.
So we'll definitely see how it works out.
I love the speculation, though.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I love it.
But in our next game, we have Hawaii at 9-4, taking on Boise State, number 19, 11-1, 14-point favorites in the Mountain West Championship game. I feel like this is almost a no-brainer. If this was being played in Hawaii, maybe they'd have a shot, but you're now having to play on the turf. So Boise State, I think, is going to take this one big.
Boise State's too good compared to Hawaii. Hawaii having a very good season, 9-4, making the championship game, and I just think Boise State has been playing too well to lose this game. Especially they're hosting them on the blue turf. That's how they do the Mountain West Championship. They have rolled through. They're undefeated in conference play. I think their only loss was it the Utah State game?
I believe it was Utah State.
Oh, BYU. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, BYU in Provo.
That was a huge bluff. Sorry. That was a huge mistake.
Psych.
At BYU is their only loss this year. But other than that, and that even was a close game in a tough environment on the road.
Yeah, that was a crazy game.
I see no reason why why Boise State would lose this game at home. And they're also playing for style points because they want to be the group of 5 team that makes it into the New Year's Six bowl game. So they have a lot to play for. I think that they have that 14-point spread that you mentioned. I think they cover, I think it's a big win for Boise State.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to cover. I'm seeing this being like a 21-point win. I think Boise State's going to really handle it, especially on being at home on the blue turf where they always traditionally play very, very well. So I think Boise State definitely will take this one big. But our 7:30 game, Virginia at 9-3, a surprising 9-3, traveling to number 3 Clemson, undefeated. This has the biggest spread at 28.5 points for the ACC championship game. I'm sorry. Does Virginia even have a shot in this game?
No. Short term.
I like how quick you were on that.
No, I don't. They have a very slight chance, but it would be predicated on Virginia to really confuse Trevor Lawrence and make him play like he did earlier in the season when he was making a bunch of mistakes. But they got to slow down Travis Etienne, the running back.
Absolutely.
He was ACC Player of the Year announced earlier this week. This guy has been running roughshod all over basically everybody. He's playing at an extremely high level. But also, not only do they have to do that on defense, on offense, if Virginia wants to win this game, Bryce Perkins has got to play the game of his life.
Absolutely.
He's got to play the game of his life. He is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country right now. Throw all the arguments you want out, but he leads the ACC in total offense with over 3,600 yards.
Yeah.
Just think about that. He had the game against North Carolina where he accounted for every single touchdown, and he accounted for an absurd amount of yards. Those two things are the only hope that Virginia has to win this game, and it being a spread of 28.5, it's going to be a really, really tough uphill battle for Virginia, and I don't think they'll be able to overcome it.
No, I don't think they will be able to either. This Clemson team has been just playing out of their mind. They're averaging a difference of 35 points per game against opponents, averaging 45 offensively, only 10 on defense.
Give them a lot of credit. The first couple games of the year, they did not look like the team that we were hoping they would be. But
I mean, Texas A&M and North Carolina, I feel like were the only games where they showed that they were not impervious. Obviously, they had that 21-20 narrow win against North Carolina where they held off that 2-point conversion. They had the 14-point win against Texas A&M. Other than that, they have blown every single team out. Yep. Teams we thought that might even be able to hang like Wake Forest, blown out 52-3. Boston College used to have a good defense, 59-7. So they've been able to just straight dominate, and they do it in such just beautiful fashion. Because Trevor Lawrence, man, he has that good arm. Even though he's not playing quite the level that he was last year, he's still getting it done, especially in the second half of the season.
Little asterisk is that the first part of the season he wasn't playing well. But with Travis Etienne basically emerging as the number 1 guy within the first couple weeks, they have been using the backbone of that running game. And again, that solid defense, and that has now put Trevor Lawrence back into a position where he's like, look, I don't have to make a bunch of plays. I can just hand it off to my running back. My defense will get me the ball in a short field. All right, let's go ball out.
Yeah, and Etienne was averaging less than 100 yards in most of their games in the first half of the season. Then from FSU on, it was a minimum of 100 yards every single game, showing how he was taking over. So I definitely have to agree. And that run game, the whole run game has been able to help lift this team. Very
well-deserved ACC Player of the Year there. He has been the catalyst for that offense, and now they're playing like the Clemson of the past few years that everyone has come to expect of them.
Absolutely. So definitely, I agree. They're going to take this one in dominating fashion. It's not even going to be close. Dare I say, they probably are going to cover as well. So definitely keep an eye out on that. But in our last game, our 8 o'clock game on Fox, the Big Ten championship game, number 1 Ohio State, undefeated against 10-2 Wisconsin. Wisconsin hoping to play spoiler to Ohio State and trying to improve their chances. More than likely, no matter the outcome, Wisconsin is probably going to be taking that trip to the Rose Bowl to take on Oregon. But we'll definitely see how this shakes out because they got to deal with the Buckeyes first.
Yeah, Ohio State's, I hate to say this, they're the best team in the country. I'm like, there's not, I don't think there's.
Did you bonk your head? Did you just say Ohio State
is
the best team in the country?
I did.
You heard it here first, man.
Yeah, I did.
Can you say it while holding that Michigan cup? Oh, this is gold.
Ohio State's the best team in the country.
Oh, yes. Yes. I love it. I love it.
Oh, that hurt. Oh, that hurt.
Oh, man.
But, I mean, they are just offense, defense, Justin Fields, Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins is a guy that basically everyone apparently forgot about. 2 years ago, he was the guy at running back. And, you know, he has come back to being the top running back in that room again. And, Ohio State's on a roll. They're just on a roll. I mean, the fact that it's a 16-point spread is really funny, but Wisconsin, they still struggle on offense at the quarterback position. They struggle throwing the football. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is going to struggle in this game. Ohio State wins pretty easily. They're going to be the number one team going into the playoff.
Absolutely. This entire defense has been playing absolutely out of their mind for Ohio State. Ohio State's going to completely shut down this Wisconsin offense. Jonathan Taylor's not. I agree. He's not going to be able to do anything. Those 1,700 yards and 20 touchdowns he has this year will mean nothing in this game as he gets completely torn down by Chase Young in this amazing defense. And J.K. Dobbins, I think, is going to have an amazing game. I think he's going to go off. I'm calling it right now. At least 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to kill it. And let's not forget Justin Fields. He's been playing great all year. Has 2,600 yards, 37 touchdowns, 1 interception on the year. I think he's going to have a big game. And Ohio State's going to take this one by a very wide margin. So we'll definitely see how a lot of these games play out. Definitely make sure that you check in. It's going to be kicking off here in about 23 minutes or so at noon, starting with our Big 12, our MAC action, and our Sun Belt Championship game. So definitely check them out. It's going to be great, and definitely see if we get our picks right. We definitely hit a little bit of a snag with Pac-12, but we can come back from that.
And it's really funny that you pointed this out to me yesterday that we have the same picks this week.
We do not anymore, sir.
Yeah. What'd you change? Oh, you changed the Cincinnati-Memphis game.
I had to because I can't let you get a guaranteed 1 win on me.
We had the same picks this week, and I didn't do this on purpose, but I am 1 game ahead of you right now. 154 wins to your 153. I did not do that on purpose strategically. I legitimately had, these are my picks. But if you do end up getting the Cincinnati pick and everything else stays the same, we'll be tied.
And it's going to come down to the playoff and then the championship game.
Well, I figure this is kind of it.
Well, I mean, we got to pick the championship playoff and all that.
Well, we can do the playoff, yeah.
We got to include it.
Bowl games are too much of a crapshoot. We can't
end tied, sir. I'm sorry.
Bowl games are too much of a tie. Bowl games are too much of a crapshoot.
No. We're not going to do all that this year, but,
Plus, there's like 2,000 bowl games now.
2003, sir, okay? Keep up.
It was almost a good year.
It was almost a good year. Not so much for Notre Dame. But either way, though, been great, though. It's been our college football weekly pick. There's been a lot of great stuff going on. But we already talked a little bit about the top 6. But now we got to look at some news. There's been so much going on in the hemisphere known as college football. There's been so much going on, especially with coaches. We mentioned earlier about Lane Kiffin and everything going on with him. But we need to talk about, I think, a brighter spot. Lane Kiffin, I swear he's always jumping to every other school. But James Franklin at Penn State got himself a 6-year extension through the 2025 season. At one point was loosely connected to the USC job like every coach seemingly has. You thought Urban Meyer was going to go there. Oh, my goodness.
It's still going to happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's still not going to happen.
Clay Helton, who... Of course, we're mixing stories here together, but it's okay because we do whatever the hell we want on
It's
the
all
show.
Part of the spider hemisphere. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
The spiders out into each other.
It's part of the college football extended universe.
Exactly.
But
the CFPU,
yeah,
I say
the CFB.
Oh, there we
EU, go. CFB EU. Take that, DC Comics. No, but Clay Helton. Clay Helton, of course, was announced that he's going to be. It wasn't really even announced. It was kind of like,
hey, we're just keeping him.
We're just going to keep him. But 8-4 this year. I still think that he's going to have another mediocre year. They're going to fire him. And then Urban Meyer's going to be the USC coach. I'm sorry.
USC had to deal with so many injuries this year. They're kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles, I feel, of college football right now.
You're just giving them too much credit. I mean, you're talking about the Eagles. Just saying.
Hey,
just think
we're gonna beat the Giants.
Just think about this: the Eagles are only within a game and a half of the Lions.
And we're going to be
That's
NFC,
how bad your season's going.
And we're going to be NFC East champions with a losing record, so it's okay. It's okay.
6-10, huh?
Hey, we'll talk more about that scenario later, sir. But either way, USC has announced they're going to hold on to Clay Helton. But the big thing I see here is that they dealt with so many injuries that they were able to show their depth at quarterback and still be competitive, even knocking off Utah. So I feel that Clay Helton might be able to back himself into a 9-3, dare I say a 10-2 season next year. So I think they're honestly on the up and up right now. And Clay Helton, if you don't get at least 8 wins next year, though, you're probably out of there.
Well, here's what you got to look at with Clay Helton. When he started there in 2015, he was 5-4 because he came in partway through the year. Mm-hmm. He was 5-2 in conference. He had back-to-back 10+ win seasons, and then he went down to 5 wins, and now he's back to 8 wins. So I think if he doesn't get a 10+ win next season, he's out anyway. But think about it. USC is on the same echelon as far as expectations as Notre Dame, Michigan.
Oh, absolutely.
Texas.
Yeah, they're one of the big time programs.
Schools that haven't been up to where they expect.
I agree.
And if they really care about getting back to prominence, if he doesn't have a 10-win season next year, he's out. I'm sorry.
I can kind of see it, but I think it also depends upon how that season and where the issues are. Because Helton has been 40-21 in 4+ years at USC. He has been 13-11 though the last 2 seasons, which a lot of people are not really happy with. However, don't forget they did play in the Rose Bowl in 2016. They didn't win the Pac-12 championship in 2017. So it's not like they haven't had success. But USC is definitely going to want to see them take the next step. And I think if you're not at least in the Pac-12 title game, bye.
Well, that's why you recruit for depth,
and that's their biggest thing. But I feel like they showed that at least with the quarterback position.
Quarterback position, yeah, absolutely. But all I hear over there are excuses.
I'm not making excuses. I'll never make an excuse for USC. They can go 0-12, and I would be happy. But we have to be realistic and unbiased, apparently.
Yeah, we try to be at least. But part of them keeping USC keeping Clay Helton was, I think, just kind of a return serve move because of the James Franklin staying at Penn State. But I mean, this was an extremely smart move for Penn State. I mean, you get a guy that grew up watching Penn State. He's from the state of Pennsylvania. Yep. He's gone 55-23, and he's had a Big Ten championship, been to Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl. Like, he has brought Penn State back on the national stage in a way that we haven't seen in a while, and he's doing it the right way.
Yes.
Unlike the previous regime of, beforehand. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But this is a huge move for James Franklin. Not only does he get that 6-year extension through 2025, I don't think numbers have been released on his contract, but that's an afterthought.
Yeah, that's
the fact that he's staying for 6 years is big for Penn State fans and for the Big Ten, really.
Absolutely.
If you can keep a guy like that in conference, it's going to only help the reality that the Big Ten is one of the best college football conferences in the country. Mm-hmm. So
we'll definitely see how that shakes out. But you know what I want to talk about now? Lane Kiffin. Now, Lane Kiffin, we've seen have all kinds of stops at Tennessee and USC and now Florida Atlantic for the past few years. And now he's going to be seemingly taking on the Ole Miss job, becoming the new Rebels head coach. But what's interesting about this is the timing. Obviously, this is right before the Conference USA Championship game today, before they have their bowl game seemingly a little here, probably in the next few weeks or so. But looking at his coaching record, the guy can win games. In his 1 year at Tennessee, obviously, wasn't the best. It wasn't even like a year, it was like a year and a quarter, if that, and went 13-7. It's not horrible.
That's great for Tennessee right now.
I'm about to say, comparatively to where they are now, I'm sure they would love to have him back.
Yeah, they went 7-6 in 2009, and they made the Chick-fil-A
Sorry,
Bowl.
7-6. What am I looking at? Oh, sorry, 13 games. So yeah, 7-6. But it goes to USC, 28-15 in 4 years. That's not horrible. Of course, they lost their only bowl game appearance in the Sun Bowl, but USC's. It's been a while since the Pete Carroll days with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and Lendell White and Carson Palmer and all them fun days.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's name comes up a lot every year for coaching searches because of he's had SEC experience, he's had the Pac-12 experience. He was Alabama's offensive coordinator the year following he left USC. I think this is a bit of a, maybe this was a little bit of a humbling experience to go down to FAU, but he turned them into a big program. He had 11 wins in his first year, 5-7 his second year, 9-3 this year, second time in 3 years in the championship game in that conference,
and a bowl win in the Boca Raton Bowl too.
Yeah, the Boca Raton Bowl. Yep. But this team, it's easy to recruit in Florida. I mean, especially when you're at a place like FAU, where it's, basically Miami, North Miami, basically. But I think this is going to be, we had a feeling that this is not going to last long for Lane Kiffin.
No, definitely not. I'm surprised it lasted this long, to be perfectly honest. But he has Florida Atlantic in position and is showing that he could win even at a smaller program. So I think that's why Ole Miss at this point, with all the scandals, all the issues they've had, especially with coaches, that they want to get a guy in that not only has a track record of being able to find success even on a small scale, but also a guy that's going to bring a different kind of culture than what they've had previously with Hugh Freeze and all these other coaches that they've had in before. So I think this is going to be a good move for Ole Miss. Now, will it actually translate into wins, though, is going to be the big question. I feel like their roster right now is starting to get a little depleted. They're definitely going to lose some seniors going into this offseason, so recruiting is going to be a big thing. I think Lane Kiffin could pull it off. Like I said, he has the SEC experience. He has the Pac-12 experience, small school experience. He's been down in Miami for a while now. So
he's a great recruiter.
And he is.
He's a great recruiter. So
with what he has, he can do it.
If you're able to get people to go to Oxford, Mississippi, more power to you.
Absolutely.
But the funniest thing about this story, real quick before we move on, is I saw a tweet yesterday about Lane Kiffin, and a reporter asked him that he was linked to the Arkansas and Ole Miss jobs. And they asked him about it, like, hey, your name is linked to these two schools. He goes, well, definitely not Arkansas. And he left it at that.
Wow.
So everyone was like, okay,
ouch.
So you're going to Ole Miss. And then this
Ouch.
comes out last night. So I think it's really funny.
How mad are you Arkansas fans, though? Like, you just got slapped in the face.
Well, not necessarily. I think it's more of a slap in the face to a little bit of a slap in the face to FAU, because he's not saying, we're focused on this game. We're like, I'm not going to Arkansas, but he didn't say he's not going to Ole Miss.
But you got to remember, this is Lane Kiffin. He's not a guy that minces words.
That is true. And that is, I think, one thing that really helped him out with all of this in his experience so far.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, calling out Nick Saban and calling out, did he call Urban Meyer too?
Called out Urban Meyer as well.
Yep, when he was at Florida.
Oh, so good. But another coach that is starting to turn some heads, that's one Mike Norvell, head coach at Memphis. Been playing great, has a 37-15 record with them. Went to 3 bowl games, lost all 3, but has been able to have a 10-win and now an 11-win season. Has not had a losing season in all those years as well. Being linked now to the Florida State job. What do you think about that?
I think it could be a really good marriage between a high-powered offense coach who's gone 37-15 at Memphis, where their expectations are, about here. They're, try to win your conference or try to win the division, try to win a conference, get to a decent bowl game.
Definitely.
If Florida State fans and alumni, boosters, whatever, if they can lower their expectations for the first 2 years, I think this could be a very good match made in heaven, because of the fact that offense puts butts in seats.
Yes, it does.
Have you seen the attendance at Florida State games this year? It's been awful.
Absolutely
it has been awful.
And they really haven't had an offense there since Dalvin Cook and Jameis Winston were there, to be perfectly honest.
The real question is going to be, is he going to be able to recruit guys to come to Florida State when you're in the same conference as a Clemson, and you're playing them every year, and you're recruiting against Miami and Florida and teams even in your own state. So I think this could be really good, but just like Michigan fans did to Rich Rod, albeit a little, I think, unfair to him. You have to keep your expectations curbed slightly.
Yes.
You can't, if he comes in and goes 4 wins the first year, they can't say, oh, fire this guy.
Yeah, they can't.
You have to, I would say you got to give him 3 years.
Absolutely, because now you got to think not only are you trying to deal with still the fallout from even the Jimbo Fisher days, but you're now still dealing with all this Willie Taggart recruits and all the fallout from that. So it's going to take a little bit, I feel, to get the kind of players that Mike Norvell wants in his offense, in his defense, to be able to get it to a point where he can really compete, honestly, because at this juncture, Florida State has had players leave, players get kicked off the team. They've been in utter turmoil. So I don't feel they have a whole lot left in the cupboard at this point. So we've seen them fall completely out and have to struggle with even the Louisiana Lafayette's of the world. And it's not been good. So they got to give it time. It's going to take time. You can't expect him to just step in and think, oh, we got this offensive guru, and now we're going to be 12-0, 11-1, actually competing for ACC titles. It's not going to happen. You still got to deal with Clemson, but dealing with just being able to recruit in your own state, I think they still have an edge on Miami. Miami has not been good either, so that kind of helps them in the Florida ACC battle, but you're still going to be probably losing recruits to UF, probably UCF even a little bit, because not a lot of guys want to go to Tallahassee. I feel like UCF might even have a better edge just given their recent track record over what FSU's been able to do. I
think part of what has hurt UCF is the fact that FAU has been good.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, when you got other mid-major teams that are good in your own state, it's going to hurt your own recruiting. So I think part of that is with Lane Kiffin leaving, I think Heupel can get some of those guys to like, hey, come on over here. We're still a really good team and we've got a really good program. So I think that really hurt him a little bit. I don't think that's really going to affect Florida State too much because at the end of the day, they're Florida State.
That's true.
And you can hang your hat on the fact that they play in the ACC. They've had success in the last, 5-10 years. So I think they can do it.
I definitely think they might be able to.
You got to curb those expectations.
And that's going to be the big thing. So try and be realistic, Seminole fans, because your comeuppance may be coming. You just got to be patient. I know that pain. We survived 2007 Notre Dame, so we went 3-9.
Yeah, in Michigan, we've had to survive Rich Rod and Brady Hoke. So
yeah, that's painful unto itself. But switching gears, we're going to take a look a bit at some NFL action and Thursday Night Football as the Dallas Cowboys traveled to the Chicago Bears in losing fashion. The Bears were able to take this one 31-24. Thank you, Bears. The Eagles now have a shot at the NFC East.
Big question out of this game is what's going on with Dallas? What is wrong? I mean, when you have
Jason Garrett's
not doing everything though.
I mean, he calls the plays, don't he?
I thought that was Kellen Moore.
Well, they think he should be the one to replace Jason Garrett too, so that's questionable at best. But it feels like this Dallas team has just been flat out falling apart. This being now, I believe, their third straight loss.
The second time they've had 3 losses in a row this season.
And this is their 4th loss out of their past 5 games, with their only win coming against Detroit, which honestly, Detroit could have pulled that one off, and we could be easily looking at a 5 straight loss streak for the Dallas Cowboys. This team it seems so Jekyll and Hyde. They're able to stick in games and dominate even in others where they've dominated the Giants already this year. They dominated the Eagles. They were able to dominate the Dolphins, but those are nobodies. They have not been able to beat a team with a winning record, and it shows. Now, they've been able to hang. Obviously, they had the 13-9 loss to the Patriots. They also had the 12-10 loss to the Saints. So they've shown they can be competitive, but they just can't get the job done. What's going on?
It's that offense side that they're putting up. Like, you look at the numbers, and Dak Prescott put up what looks to be decent numbers, but if you really watch the film, they had 7 straight drives, empty drives. They scored early in the game. I think it was their first drive. They scored a touchdown.
Yep.
And then 7 straight drives, nothing.
Yeah, until
nothing to show for
it.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're playing against teams that have decent defenses, like the Patriots, the Saints, the Bears, you've got to be able to put up points, and you got to be able to not put them up in garbage time. Yeah. Essentially, that's what happened. Is they got garbage time points, and to make the game look close. But this game was never close.
Never was. And Mitchell Trubisky looked like a great quarterback out there, going 23 of 31, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. But 10 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. The Cowboys defense made Mitchell Trubisky look like he was Lamar Jackson. And that's crazy to me.
What do you think that's more telling? That Trubisky's on a hot streak, or that Dallas's defense is just that bad right now?
I think it's a mixture of both because the Dallas defense isn't great, but they're not horrible either. They have a good linebacker core. Their defensive line could be a little suspect at times, as can the secondary, but I feel overall they are a solid unit. This, I think, is catching Chicago at home while they're also in a hot streak. Trubisky playing good, played great on Thanksgiving, playing good a week later. So I feel this is partly that, but also I think it's Dallas miscues. I think it's them missing tackles, not being able to really get a good pressure on the quarterback. They've been able to get turnovers, but it's just it can't be able to capitalize, especially with their offense playing the way they are. So I feel this is more of a game Dallas lost than it was a Chicago taking the win.
Trubisky, do you know Trubisky made NFL history?
Oh, gosh. This really happened?
I'm kidding you not. It's really happened. And I've been one of the biggest Trubisky haters of, since he started. The fact that they traded up one spot, bid against themselves, sell the farm, whatever. But here is one thing that Trubisky did on Thursday night.
What did he do?
He became the first player in NFL history to do these 4 things in the same game. He threw over 30 times and threw at a 70% or better clip. He went 23 of 31.
True.
So he completed 70+% of his passes on over 30 attempts. Threw for 3 touchdowns or more. Rushed for 50 yards or more and had a rushing touchdown. No quarterback's ever done that.
I mean, Lamar Jackson hasn't done this yet?
No, surprisingly, no.
Man, that kind of blows my mind.
But if you think, he's had some games where he's had games where he's probably done close to this, but he's not gotten that 30+ attempts.
Right, and that's the thing that's
and they got there because he's done a lot of this. Remember those games, what was it, the game they just had where he had 4 or 5 touchdown passes?
Oh, that
but he only had 200 yards.
Yeah, against the LA Rams.
Yeah, against the Rams, where he was throwing probably at about a 70% clip.
Oh, yeah, he was playing out of his mind.
But he didn't have to throw it 30 times.
Yeah.
And he had 5 touchdowns, rushing touchdown.
He looked like a Madden cheat code in that game, honestly. That one was just crazy.
And that is, but that's just to give you an idea of what kind of a hot streak that Trubisky has been on. I don't know what happened. I don't know what flip got switched with Matt Nagy, but this offense actually doesn't look half bad.
No, as a team, they rushed for 151 yards as well. Trubisky with his 63. David Montgomery had 86. So they've been able to find some type of traction here. And what I see is even greater is that Trubisky's moving the ball around. He's getting it to all of his receivers. You had, 4, 8, 9 different receivers, only 7 of which actually caught their target, but you still were seeing a lot of distribution of the ball. J.P. Holtz had 3 catches. Allen Robinson had 5 catches. Anthony Miller had 3 catches and a touchdown. Jesper Horsted had 4 catches. Cordarrelle Patterson, there's a name you don't hear that often anymore. He even had a catch for 33 yards. So
yeah, 5 of those 7 players have caught at least 3 passes or more in that game, which is pretty good.
Yeah, so it's really showing Trubisky's really starting to move the ball around. They're finding consistency on offense. They're not taking too big of risks, which has helped lower turnovers, lower negative plays, and they've been able to get some things going. Even in this game, they had 3 fumbles and lost 1, but it was to the running backs. Tariq Cohen had 2 fumbles, didn't lose either one. David Montgomery sadly had his that was lost, but they've been able to show that they can really start to be a little bit competitive now. The big question, though, is can Chicago keep this rolling with their division the way it is? Maybe help play themselves up into something.
I think their playoff chances went from 15% to 20%.
Yeah, it's very, very slim.
When you've got Green Bay and Minnesota in your division, you are going to have a miracle to have them fall. You could finish 10-6, which would be great.
But they're only 2 games back of Green Bay. If crazy things were to happen, obviously they would need a lot of help with Green Bay and Minnesota needing to take some losses. But you're 1 back of Minnesota, 2 back of Green Bay. I mean, it could be realistic, and let's not forget, next week they have to play Green Bay in Lambeau, followed by a visit to the Vikings 2 weeks later. So, maybe
they have a tough game too, because all 3 their last 3 games, 2 of them are on the road.
That's true.
Green Bay, then they're home against the Chiefs.
Ugh.
Chiefs have been tough to beat.
Oh yeah.
And then on the road at Minnesota.
But Chicago on a 3-game winning streak. Maybe
I could realistically see this team go 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, win one of the 3 games and lose the other 2. I could see that 8-8. It's a very disappointing year because you made the playoffs last year.
It's almost like someone predicted an 8-8 season for Chicago.
Weird.
I
wonder who did.
I wonder who did. Anyways, but I feel they have a good shot. I don't think they'll beat the Chiefs whatsoever. But when it comes to the Packers and Vikings, I mean, you're talking about division rivalries here.
They have a chance. Well, they have a chance because it's at home.
And that's with the Chiefs, I think they do have a chance because it's at home. But I think the Chiefs and how they play against the Patriots is really going to be telling, especially given their defense. So I think we'll have a better idea going into this game what we're going to have, because that game could become a very big defensive battle, honestly, given how good Chicago Bears defense still is. Mm-hmm. So we'll definitely see how a lot of that shakes out. But Dallas, though, is just spiraling, and now they got to take on the LA Rams next week. So it's going to be interesting. If Dallas can't get past the Rams either, it's going to be wide open going into Week 16 when you have Eagles and Cowboys in Philadelphia. It's going to be seemingly for the NFC East title. So we'll definitely see how a lot of that shakes out. But looking at some of our picks that we have in games coming up this week, all tomorrow.
You're going to skip over our poll question?
Oh, we did skip over the poll question, didn't we?
The hell, man?
I'm on a roll, sir. We're talking games.
That.
But we did have a poll question posted up this week about which NFL head coach will be the next coach to go. We had Jason Garrett, Freddie Kitchens, Dan Quinn, and, of course, other, because, any number of teams can end up firing their head coach. Crazy things happen all the time. Come on, Pats, fire Belichick. And, see what happens. But at an 80% clip, Jason Garrett was voted as the next coach by you, the fans, of who we thought would be the next one, kicked out of his franchise. And I hope that happens sooner rather than later.
All three of those coaches are realistically on the hot seat for any number of reasons.
Spikingly hot.
But I mean, there's other coaches you can throw in there. Pat Shurmur at New York, the Giants. Yes. He's another one.
Even Adam Gase in New York for the New York Jets, he was even on the hot seat. Yep. Of course, his cooled off a little bit, getting a few more wins now, so not making it look quite as bad, but
he's also coaching like GM too right now. So,
yeah, he's got a lot on his plate.
Whatever. but yeah, we try to throw out a poll question every single week so you, the fans, can vote on it. It's on all of our social media platforms at PCN Final Score, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Try to share them all on there. So be on the lookout for those. We're gonna have another one coming up probably within the next few days, I would imagine.
Absolutely. So keep your eyes out, and we'll definitely have that up soon. But let's not forget though about our weekly pick'em. Now we're at pick'em. No more questions.
You got off to a good start. You picked the Bears at home over the Cowboys.
Needed that one.
So you're off to a 1-0 start. I'm at 0-1, but I've got a pretty healthy lead on you right now.
Yeah.
You went 8-8 last week. I went 9-7 last week. Not great. I get it. But you're 109, 82-1, and I'm 120, 71-1.
But now I get this win, so now I've pulled one closer to you. There's only 10 games split now, so we'll see how this goes. But looking at some of our Sunday games, starting with our 1 o'clock games, we have the 5-7 Carolina Panthers traveling down into Atlanta to take on the 3-9 Falcons. The Falcons favored by 2.5 in this. Who do you got?
I'm taking the Falcons. Simply, they're at home. The Panthers have not been playing well lately. Kyle Allen is just... he's up and down, but it's realistic more so that defense. Mm-hmm. That defense is not playing well. They can't stop the run. The Falcons don't have a great run game, but you've seen what Matt Ryan's been able to do the last couple weeks. Mm-hmm. Falcons need to try to salvage their season. Dan Quinn is playing. He's coaching for his job now.
Oh, absolutely.
He's coaching for his job. If he doesn't, at least make it a respectable season, he's probably going to be out. And it's the first game without Ron Rivera. I'm going to take the Falcons here.
Yeah, I also have the Falcons. I feel like without Ron Rivera, that the Panthers now at this point are kind of in a clamor mode to try and figure out where this team is now. So it's going to take a lot to try and get them the rest of the season. I don't think they'll probably even win, but maybe one game the rest of the year if they're lucky. Falcons playing much better defense and been able to move the ball seemingly at will as of late, being able to have tough games against teams like the Saints, among others. So I think the Falcons definitely are going to take this, and I think they're going to cover. But our next game, we have the 10-2 Baltimore Ravens, our AFC leaders, taking on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The Bills coming in at 9-3 and having a surprisingly good season. Ravens are favored by 5.5 in this one. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Ravens just because of the fact that we've seen what Lamar Jackson has done to good defenses. And the Bills have a good defense.
They do.
On the flip side, the Ravens defense has been playing at a very high level. And the Bills, Josh Allen's been playing well, had that big Thanksgiving Day win at Dallas. But I think this is going to be decently tight game, but I'm going to take the Ravens.
Yeah, I also have the Ravens in this one. I feel the Bills will definitely be able to give some friction early and be able to maybe kind of keep this Raven offense a little bit down, but it's not going to be enough because the Ravens are always good at making halftime adjustments and being able to come out and really clamp down on teams. The Ravens are going to take this one, and they're going to more than cover. In our next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at 1-11, traveling up to Cleveland to take on the 5-7 Browns. Browns trying to get a little bit of a roll going, especially after their most recent loss. Bengals, though, finally getting their first win of the season. Pat on the back to you guys. No winless year for you. But this one seemingly is going to be going the Browns' way as they are favored by 8.5. Who do you got?
I was 1 week off my pick for the Bengals.
Just one.
I just want to make that known. I was 1 week off from picking the Bengals' first win.
Oh, my goodness.
But here, Browns 5-7, favored by 8.5. They still have a very, very outside chance of making the playoffs. So they want to try to position themselves. If this game was on the road in Cincy, I'd be tempted to pick the Bengals.
I would be too.
But I'm going to take the Browns at home. That offense needs to, they need to kind of get moving again. There's a lot of talks within the last week that OBJ is not happy in Cleveland already, but it's been blown out of proportion.
Yeah, he refuted that claim.
Yeah, big time blown out of proportion. So I'm going to take the Browns here. I think they're just too much of a talented team to lose a game to the Bengals.
I have to absolutely agree. I feel like the Browns, especially at home, are just way too talented offensively, even defensively without Myles Garrett now for the rest of the year. I think the Browns are really going to be able to take the Bengals to the woodshed and be able to put a number on them and cover in this game. I think the Browns are going to win by 10. Our next 1 o'clock game, we have the 3-9 Redskins going on the road to the frozen tundra to take on the Green Bay Packers at 9-3. Packers are favored by 13 in this game, our widest spread for any game this weekend. Who do you got?
Packers at home. The Redskins have been playing very well. They've been running the football at an astronomically high level. I mean, you got Geis, AP. They've been running the ball really well the last couple weeks, having that big win against the Panthers. But at home for the Packers, I just think that team is a little bit too talented. That offense is going to kind of overwhelm the Redskin defense. I'm going to take the Packers to win and then try to hold their lead at the top of the NFC North.
Yeah, the Redskins on a 2-game winning streak right now, having beat Detroit, having beat Carolina. However, I do not think it's going to be enough against the Green Bay Packers, who are just too talented to be able to lose this game, especially at home in the frozen tundra. I think Green Bay is not only going to win this game, but they are going to more than cover. I think they end up taking this one by like 17, maybe even 21 points. In our next game, though, we have the 3-8-1 Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings at 8-4, who are also favored by 13 in this one. Who do you got?
I'm picking whoever is playing against the Lions every week from here on out. There's no hope, no faith in the Lions this year. Might as well just tank, be done with it. Now, I say that out of love because I want the team to be able to get healthy, turn things around. Matt Stafford's not playing again. He shouldn't play the rest of the year. Let him get healthy. Vikings have been playing way too well. Kirk Cousins quietly is having just as good of a year as Russell Wilson.
Oh, yes, definitely. 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, playing great football right now.
And look at the small amount of interceptions he's got on the year.
And that's the big thing.
That's the big thing for him is how has he played that usually that TD to interception ratio has been really bad for him.
Only 4 on the year.
Only 4. And they played well in that game against Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
Could have won, but I'm going to take the Vikings at home. They want to keep pace with the Packers, and the Lions are a lost cause for the year.
Yeah, I think the Lions pretty much are in their own tank mode this year, having accepted the fact that they've already had 8 losses. There's no way that they have a shot to make it to the playoffs. So I think the Lions at this point are packing it in. Vikings at home are going to take this one big. They might even cover. Not going to matter, but they're going to get win number 9 on the year. In our next 1 o'clock game, we have the 10-2 49ers traveling down to New Orleans to take on the 10-2 Saints. This could possibly be the game of the week. This one's going to be real exciting. Who do you got in this one?
I'm taking the Saints at home. I know this is going to be kind of an unpopular pick because of how the 49ers have been playing the last few weeks. But you got to remember, Saints at home, West Coast team traveling east. I know the 49ers played well on their on their travel east to go to Baltimore. They stayed on the East Coast. They didn't even go back home last week. They stayed down here or over here on the East Coast. So I'm going to take the Saints at home. That environment is going to be crazy. I'm actually really upset that they didn't flex this game to the night game.
For real.
It would have been amazing television.
Absolutely.
But for the second week in a row, we get the game of the week at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh my gosh, so crazy it's going to be a 1 o'clock game. But I have the 49ers taking this one. I feel they played so well against the Ravens that they really have shown that they are a team to contend with, whether it be against the top in the AFC or even the top in the NFC. So I think the 49ers are going to be able to take this one. It's going to be a squeaker of a game, maybe a 1 or 2 point win, but I think the 49ers have just enough, especially defensively, to be able to pull this one off. In our next 1 o'clock game, we have the 3-9 Dolphins traveling up to New York to take on the 4-8 Jets. Jets are favored by 5.5, and now going to be taking on this former team of Adam Gase for the second time. What do we got?
You remember a couple of weeks when this game was basically considered like Tank Bowl 1.0, and then Dolphins Redskins was 2.0. Now both these teams, don't look now, but these two teams have a couple of wins now. The Jets are playing decent, I guess, but the Dolphins have been playing surprisingly well, having notched their third win. I'm going to take the Jets at home just because Sam Darnold against that defense is still not up to the level that Brian Flores wants it to be talent-wise. So I'm going to take the Jets in a surprisingly, like a very close game.
Ooh. Well, I have the Dolphins taking this one on the road, having already gotten a win against the Jets 26-18 earlier in the season at home. I think Miami now is starting to get on a little bit of a roll, especially coming off that big win against the Eagles last week at home. Now they get to take it on the road and prove why they are not the Miami Tanks that everybody thought they were going to be, and I think the Dolphins are going to take this one close. In our next 1 o'clock game, we have the 6-6 Colts traveling down to Tampa Bay to take on the 5-7 Buccaneers. Buccaneers are favored by 3, and this one could turn into a very interesting game now that you have T.Y. Hilton back, but no Marlon Mack still for this game. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Colts on the road. Tampa Bay has been so up and down. You just don't know what you're getting out of Jameis Winston. He is one of the league leaders in passing yards with 3,600 yards, but he's got 22 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. That right there just tells you all you need to know about the Buccaneers. And yeah, they're playing at home. They still have want to make some momentum and all that. But I'm gonna take the Colts in a very close game. Tampa Bay's defense has been playing surprisingly really well. They've been getting after the quarterback, forcing turnovers, sacking the quarterback, and Brissett still looks a little hobbled off that injury. But I think the Colts have just enough intestinal fortitude to win this game on the road.
Intestinal fortitude.
Yes.
Look at you, sir.
I am expanding my very weak vocabulary.
Oh, look at you go with all of your diction and wordplay. Getting all sophisticated on us. I think the Buccaneers are actually going to take this, even though Jameis Winston does have a stupid amount of interceptions and turnovers throughout his career, let alone just this season. But as a whole, he still gets the job done. He's still able to get the ball to his favorite target, and Mike Evans. They're starting to find themselves a little bit in an offensive role, and I think, honestly, the Buccaneers have a really good shot, especially at home, to be able to take this one from the Colts. I think the Buccaneers take this. However, I don't think they're going to cover. I think it's going to end up being a 1 or 2 point game. In our last 1 o'clock game, though, we have the 4-8 Broncos traveling to the 8-4 Houston Texans. Texans are favored by 9.5. Who do you got?
In this game, I'm going to take Texans at home against the Broncos. Broncos have been playing really up and down, but Drew Lock starting last week, they squeaked out a win against the Chargers. I'm going to take the Texans though. They need to keep pace and extend their lead in the AFC South, and it's at home. Broncos haven't really played well on the road.
No, they really haven't, and Houston has been playing great football. The defense is definitely there. The offense has been humming when it needs to be. DeAndre Hopkins has been having a nice, quiet little season, over 900 yards and 6 touchdowns so far. But You still got to look at the flip side that their running game, what we thought was going to be a real big weakness after the Lamar Miller injury to start the year. Carlos Hyde, 853 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns on the season, been able to be a good contributor to try and take pressure off the passing game and off of Deshaun Watson. The big thing, though, for this game is I feel as long as they can play their brand of football and be able to show up defensively, Houston will run away with this game. And Matchup Predictor has them winning at an 80% success rate right now, so I definitely don't think the Broncos have any kind of chance in this game. But looking at our next game, we do have the I almost called them the San Diego Chargers. I can't believe I did that. The LA Chargers.
Yeah, do it. No, do it. San Diego Chargers, because that's where they should be.
That's where they should be, because the San Diego Chargers at 4-8 are going to travel to Jacksonville to take on the 4-8 Jaguars. Jaguars seemingly had a lot of high hopes going into the season. Nick Foles has not been playing well. So bad, in fact, that he has now been benched in favor of Minshew Mania. I think this is going to be a good game. I got the Jazz taking this one behind the arm of Minshew Mania. Who do you got?
I'm also taking the Jags. You really got to feel for Nick Foles.
Yeah.
First game, breaks his collarbone. He's out for a handful of weeks. All these high expectations, comes back, struggles. I think this wouldn't even be a conversation if Minshew didn't play well. But the fact that Minshew played well and went 4-4 as a starter.
And 2,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks.
I think Minshew right now is a better quarterback than Nick Foles.
I have to agree. Absolutely.
It's not just from like looking at the stats, and a friend of mine who's also a big Eagles fan like yourself.
Hey.
We had this conversation about Minshew over Foles. And he's a big component of Foles. And I was like, well, watch the tape. Foles can't throw the deep ball. He can't handle pressure. He folds and just takes sacks. Minshew, he's athletic enough to get out of the pocket. He's athletic enough to throw the ball downfield. Regardless of what Hasselbeck says on ESPN, he's all over Minshew, saying he's not athletic, he's not tall, he's not this, not that. I'm sorry, Russell Wilson's not tall either. Drew Brees isn't tall either.
And they both got Super Bowl rings.
And those guys got Super Bowl rings, and they can sling the ball downfield just like Minshew can. So I don't care what the national media says. I would take Minshew for the rest of the season, which they've already announced they're going to. But now at the end of the season, you got to make a real hard decision. Do you go with Minshew, who you've got for another 3 years at a rookie minimum deal, or do you turn the page and go back to Nick Foles and hope that this offseason he can get healthy, get more in tune with his receivers, bounce back next year?
It's going to be an interesting situation going into the offseason either way. It's going to be a lot of hard soul searching and looking at this quarterback position, because I'm sure Jacksonville at this point is kind of kicking themselves thinking, man, we might have really overpaid trying to bring him in. He comes in, gets injured, comes back, doesn't look good. Now we're playing the backup who's on a rookie deal. So it's going to be an interesting situation come the offseason. I could even see a situation if they can try and swindle a team, they might try to get rid of Nick Foles and move him in favor of either draft picks or maybe a little bit of depth somewhere offensively, defensively. They really need help in a lot of places. So we'll definitely see how a lot of this plays out. But I think Minshew Mania gets back on track today as they end up taking this one. So it's going to be interesting. Our 425 game, though, we have the Tennessee Titans at 7-5, traveling over to the nation's capital. Or sorry, nation's capital. What am I talking about? Over to Oakland to take on the Raiders.
Nation's capital, huh? The black hole is the nation's capital.
The black hole. I mean, it's sucking everything in as it is, anyways. That's just the effect of having a Gruden in Oakland. But at the end of the day, the Titans are going to travel to the Raiders. Raiders are 6-6. Thought they were going to have a little bit more going on after getting seemingly blown out in some of these games recently. Raiders have not been able really to contend, but I think today will be the day that they show up, as the Raiders are going to take today's game, and I think they're going to win this one. It's going to be close. I'm going to say it's going to be about a 4-point game. Oakland gets back on track.
I feel bad for Oakland fans because they're going to be losing this team, and you got Gruden back, and they have a lot of energy in that stadium again. They've actually been playing higher than expectations, being at 6-6. Not a lot of people expected them to be 6-6.
No, not at all.
Some of us did. Figured they'd have a bounce back year.
Yeah.
But the Titans, in my opinion, are playing way too well. Surprising. Ryan Tannehill of all people.
Ryan Tannehill of all people is playing really well, and they have been on a roll since they gave him the QB1 slot. And that right there, behind him not making mistakes, he's got 12 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions on the year. And Derrick Henry is playing well, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns.
Raiders can't stop anybody. That's what my edge goes to that. And, oh yeah, by the way, Titans still have a nasty defense.
That is true.
Look what they did to the Colts last week on the road.
That is true.
I'm going to take the Titans.
In our next game, our next 425 game, we have the Kansas City Chiefs at 8-4, traveling to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots at 10-2. Patriots are favored by 3, but this could end up turning into an extremely interesting game. Who do you have?
This is probably the toughest game for me to pick this week.
I have to agree.
I'm going to take New England just because I'm giving the slight edge to guys are getting back healthy. The defense, Bill Belichick just knows what to draw up to really kind of handle Pat Mahomes and that offense. But that offense, the Chiefs offense, they've been playing really well. They're playing at a high level right now, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a interestingly close game. I'm going to give the edge to the Patriots though. Belichick at home. And he can just draw something up to try to minimize. You're not going to stop this offense, but Definitely you can minimize it.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting no matter how you look at it, because the defense is going to come up ready to play for the Patriots, especially against this Patrick Mahomes-led offense. But this offense is going to still be without Damian Williams. He has been ruled out for this game. So it is going to fall down to one LaShawn McCoy. So it's going to get interesting to see how a lot of this will play out. Defensively, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be without Maurice Claiborne, which could help open up the passing game a little bit for the Patriots if they can really press the ball downfield. So it's going to be interesting. New England is getting most of their players back from injury and from the random illness that they were dealing with last week. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out. I think Kansas City should be able to move the ball. It's not going to be with ease. This is going to be a slugfest that's going to be back and forth. But I think Kansas City is going to pull this one out in a very close, very low-scoring game. So it's definitely going to be interesting. In our last 425 game, though, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-5, traveling out to the desert to take on the Arizona Cardinals at 3-8-1. Steelers are only favored by 2.5, though, in this game. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Steelers. And again, this is kind of a tough game to pick because Arizona's been playing well enough to stay in games. But it's really going to come down to Devlin Hodges has been playing much better than Mason Rudolph. So he's actually not making mistakes, which is what you need. Which is what you need out of a quarterback that's not your franchise quarterback, is you need him just to not make mistakes, hang in, and keep your offense in this game. And here, I'm not sure if there was any indication if Connor's going to be playing in this game.
He has been officially ruled out.
Okay.
Yeah, but along with Juju Smith-Schuster, both ruled out for this game.
That's going to be a tough thing for this offense. But as long as they don't make mistakes, I'm going to trust the back of the Steelers defense, who's really come on since the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, and they're gonna dial some things up to try to make Kyler Murray make some mistakes. I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona wins this game, but I'm going to take the Steelers.
I also have the Steelers in this, and I think it is really going to rest on the back of not only the Pittsburgh defense, but on wide receiver James Washington, who's been playing out of his mind these past couple weeks. 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati, had 7 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Last week against Cleveland, caught all 4 of his targets for 111 yards and a touchdown, and has been the clear-cut receiver with Juju Smith-Schuster out with his concussion. And with no James Conner, you're going to be pressing more on that passing game to try and keep you in games, especially with young quarterbacks. So I think James Washington is going to come up really big in this game to help them pull away from Arizona, and they're going to take this one in a very decisive fashion, and definitely more than cover the 2.5-point spread. I think it's going to end up being a 7-point, maybe even a 10-point win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But looking at our primetime game for Sunday night, our 8:20 game, we had the Seattle Seahawks at 10-2, traveling on down to LA to take on the 7-5 Rams. Seahawks are only favored by 1.5, but the Rams have been able to be exposed defensively, so I feel Seahawks might have a real edge in this one. Who do you got?
Seahawks on the road. If they win, they clinch a playoff berth. They have been on a huge roll lately. They've won 8 of 9. They had 5 straight victories. So I'm going to go with Russell Wilson and his MVP caliber year. They're getting pressure on defense. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. Jadeveon Clowney and company are really causing havoc for opposing offenses. Goff, passing yards wise, has had a pretty good year, but he's been making mistakes. 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I think they're going to force enough mistakes for Goff, and they're going to clinch a playoff spot. and extend their lead in the NFC West.
So as a correction to this game, though, this is now a pick'em. The line is even for this game. Another thing I'm looking at, too, is that with Seattle's defense, they're going to be most likely without Michael Kendricks. Ziggy Ansah is questionable, as is Jadeveon Clowney. So huge hits in that defensive front for Seattle. However, we've seen teams with seemingly less be able to absolutely trounce this offense at times, including none other than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, what LA Rams team is going to show up, because they're only going to be without Gerald Everett, and that's pretty much it for weaponry offensively or defensively. So LA Rams are going to be at full strength. They might be able to take advantage, especially playing at home. However, I still don't think it's going to be enough. I think Seattle is way too talented, and Russell Wilson, you can never count out in any game. He's proven it in big wins when they've won big. He's proven it in games like he did against Philadelphia, where he didn't play the absolute best, but he played just well enough to get them that win. So I think Seattle definitely will take this one. In our Monday night game, 8:15 on ESPN, we have the battle of under 500 teams. Well, hey, these teams technically both have a shot at the NFC East Championship. The 2-10 Giants, who I can't believe I just said that after saying they have a shot at the NFC East title, are going to be traveling to Lincoln Financial Field to take on the 5-7 Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 9. Who do you got?
Could we please not make this the Monday night game? Like, come on, you could pick a better game than this.
Can't we just swap the 49ers and Saints game into the slot and just tell the Eagles and Giants, sorry, you guys suck enough that you're going to play 1 o'clock?
I'm good with that.
We can make phone calls, see if we can make it happen.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's get Chris Carnage to get on that for us.
Yeah, you can F5 somebody to make it happen.
But I'm going to take the Eagles. They need this. Like, you desperately need this win if you were the Eagles.
Absolutely.
But I don't care how bad your injuries are, who's not playing, how good or how bad the offensive line is, if Carson Wentz is actually the guy or not, whatever question or speculation you want to make. The fact of the matter is the Eagles still have a chance for the NFC East.
Oh, my gosh.
And for some reason, they let the Dolphins come back into the game. So that's why I'm going to look at Eli Manning, first game back. You need to make sure that he doesn't get on a roll, because if the Eagles do what they did last week on defense, the Giants are going to win this game.
Oh, hands down. You know what's funny is that you totally reminding me of a meme I saw earlier today, of the Tuttles, Orange County Choppers arguing back and forth.
Yes.
And I saw it where it's like, the Eagles are like, oh, we're going to lose to the Patriots, and we're only going to score 10 points. And the Cowboys are like, oh, yeah, well, we're going to lose to New England even after holding them to 13 points. And then the Eagles are like, oh, we're going to score only 9 points at home against the Seahawks. And the Cowboys are like, we're going to get destroyed by the Bills on Thanksgiving. And then I loved it because, of course, the Eagles are like, well, we're going to lose to the freaking Dolphins. And Cowboys are like, well, we're going to make Mitchell Trubisky look like Lamar Jackson. So it's just funny stuff, just to go to show that this division is in utter turmoil. You want to say that there is a garbage division this year in the NFL. It is the NFC East. That does include my Philadelphia Eagles.
And they have the worst win percentage outside their conference, or outside their division, sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
They have the worst win percentage of any other division outside of their own division.
Absolutely, they do. But the Giants, though, are going to be more than likely without Jabril Peppers in their secondary, which does hurt. But the bigger thing is they're going to be without Daniel Jones. This will be the first start for Eli Manning since the first 2 games of this season. So definitely very interesting to see this happen. They'll also have Evan Ingram, their top tight end, is questionable for this game, as is their top offensive tackle, and Nate Solder. He is also questionable for this game. So Giants coming in a little bit undermanned, so we'll definitely see how that works out. Philadelphia Eagles, on the other hand, are starting to get some guys back. They got Alshon Jeffrey back last week. They might be getting Jordan Howard back this week. Nelson Aguilar also listed as questionable. And defensively, Derek Barnett and Camus Gruger Hill could be back as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what kind of team makeup we get. But don't look now, Carson Wentz isn't playing horrible. He's just throwing 50%, but still 2,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 7 picks. I think I would take that over Daniel Jones, who only has 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 11 picks. Just saying.
You're also talking about a guy who's a rookie.
I gotta find silver lining somewhere.
You know who's playing better than Carson Wentz right now?
Don't you say it. Don't you say it.
Who do you think I'm gonna say?
I know exactly who you're gonna say.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Not who I thought. Not who I thought.
You thought I was going to say Dak Prescott.
Yes, sir, I did. That was a good fake
Hell
out.
no. Mitchell Trubisky's playing better than your Carson Wentz right now. How bad do you feel?
You know what's funny? And Dak Prescott probably is still playing better than Carson Wentz as well, even in losing fashion.
He's padding stats at this point because that offense can't move in real like crunch time situations.
They need to just feed Zeke, just keep feeding him the ball, right? Things will happen.
Yeah, 81 yards and a touchdown on only 15 carries.
2 touchdowns, sir. Thank you.
2 touchdowns. My bad. 2 garbage touchdowns.
But I think the Eagles will take this.
That's another story for another show, too, because how bad has he been playing since he got his contract?
Very bad. And I do think the Eagles will take this. I think they're going to move to 6-7 and into a tie, which currently the Cowboys hold the tiebreaker. But in a couple of weeks, they'll be able to take care of that kind of business. So we'll definitely see how all that shakes out. But that has been our weekly pick'em. Definitely make sure that you check back later on as we'll talk about a lot of our records this past week because I got to try and catch up some ground on you. So we'll definitely see how that works.
Yeah, that you do.
But with NFL news, we only have one bit that we want to talk about. We did talk about the Carolina Panthers a little bit earlier and Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera has been fired as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers after 9 seasons. He was 76, 63, and 1 for a 546 percentage. While with the team, he was 3-4 in the playoffs and did have 1 Super Bowl appearance in their 24-10 loss in Super Bowl 50 to the Denver Broncos. He also has the best win percentage of any coach in history. Are you surprised to see Ron Rivera get the boot at this point in the season?
I am actually because they're struggling a little bit, but the fact that I've seen little notes here and there that since the team was sold, the owner doesn't want Ron Rivera as the head coach for whatever reason, but didn't have a good excuse to fire him. What I'm really concerned about is the fact that the Carolina Panthers staff, they didn't name the offensive coordinator interim. Mm-hmm. They didn't name the defensive coordinator interim. They named the safeties coach the interim head coach.
Yeah, which is very questionable.
I'm trying to look up his information right now to find out what kind of background this guy has. But you want to look at some other names that could replace him. Obviously, Greg Roman for Baltimore, offensive coordinator.
Of course.
Josh McDaniels, who's had previous head coaching experience.
Yeah, always there.
Chiefs offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. I'm assuming that's how you say his name. Kevin Stefanski, the Vikings offensive coordinator.
Which I definitely could see taking the reins somewhere, especially Carolina.
Or they could go the college route. You got
plenty of coaches.
Matt Rule,
mm-hmm.
Lincoln Riley.
Maybe we can finally lure Nick Saban out of Alabama so we can let some other teams have a shot in college football.
He had such a bad experience with the Dolphins. There's no way he's going back.
I would love to see a repeat.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would. Or you can look at Mike McCarthy, the former Packers coach, is still out there.
That's true.
But I think that's really all that you're looking at. That's if you're looking at the Panthers, you got to look at the next coach. This season, 5-7, you don't have a shot at catching the Saints. You have an outside shot if you win out to make the playoffs, but it's a slim chance. Mm-hmm. But as far as you got to look at a future coach, those are just a few of the names that are popular out there right now.
Most definitely, but until we get to whoever the next head coach will be, it will be left to secondary coach Perry Fewell. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it plays out. He's never been a head coach and said it's a very weird situation for him to be in, given that he has been a successful NFL defensive coordinator before and has interviewed for the head coaching job for the Panthers back in 2010 before Rivera got the job, but has never had any kind of head coaching experience in the NFL. So we'll definitely see how it plays out over the course of the rest of this season. But at this time, though, we got to take ourselves a little bit of break and play the Power Bill. So definitely make sure that you stay with us because when we come back, we're going to be talking about some XFL uniform reveals that kind of left our head scratching in some areas. But I tell you what, there's one really got me excited for the XFL season. So make sure you stay with us. We'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/SportsSanityCustoms. 3Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit Facebook.com/3CountDesign for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit DemoBlastStudios.com. Visit Demoblast Studios on Facebook.com/Demoblast Studios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit Facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score with Chris. And where'd he go? Well, apparently Craig went to go get some coffee or something, or maybe take a dump. I don't know. He's doing something crazy over there. But we are back here for episode 39 of Final Score. So much great stuff that's been going on. But make sure that if you keep up to date with all things Final Score, that you have to follow us on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you go on there, give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment, check mark for notifications, but more importantly, leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing, because we really do try to bring the very best sports show that we can to you, because it is our passion. We love sports. We know you love sports, and we want to make sure that you enjoy your time with us here on Final Score. So make sure that you definitely go check it out right there at PCN Final Score above my head. So check us out, give us a like, give us a follow, enjoy all that great stuff that we put out. Also, make sure that you follow us on all of our content platforms. All you have to do is go to Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, or Google Play Music. Search keyword Final Score, one word, and make sure to give us a like, a follow, check mark for notifications so you can know when our latest episodes and content drops, because we always try to put this stuff out as fast as we can.
I'm back.
And none other than Craig has rejoined us. Gosh, that gaudy Michigan Cup. Can you hold it up one more time and talk about Ohio State?
I will hold it up, yes. Go Blue.
Oh, my goodness. But definitely make sure that you follow us on all of our content platforms. That way you don't miss a beat, and you can always stay up to date with the latest sports news and always know what our opinions on it is as well.
Opinions are, sir.
There we go.
English today. You cannot English. What's up with that?
This is what happens when you have kids and you only get about 2.5 to 3 hours of sleep. I swear they're like gremlins. God, you can't be messing up the Notre Dame story. You can't be messing it up. That's why I love having a camera, so I can catch these things. I'm watching you. So when you have kids, though, the life force in your body is just sucked out of you.
What are those?
They're called parasites.
Ah, yes, that's what I thought.
Parasites.
That's what I thought they were.
I love them to death. They're my parasites, but
they're yours. And that's what matters.
Parasitic nonetheless. but we have a lot of great stuff to talk about with the XFL uniforms that were most recently revealed.
And players reported on the same day as well.
Yeah, they reported on the same day, so they were able to do this reveal with the actual teams. It was really great to see their reaction. Some of them were really, really amazing to see. Some not so much. Some kind of hurt on the eyes. So we're going to go through these one by one. And if you're watching us live or if you're watching the playback on YouTube, make sure you check it out. We do have the pictures of these. We can show you the homes and the aways. Took a lot of, all of 10 minutes to set this up. But hard work nonetheless, sir. But we're going to let you know what we think. And you're going to get the XFL uniform rankings from us here at Final Score. It's going to be exciting. What team you want to start with?
Yeah, you're the one showing the fans, so we're gonna start with whatever one you want.
Oh, I think we need to start with my favorite.
It's my favorite too, actually.
So our number one uniform out of all these uniforms is none other than the St. Louis Battlehawks, as you now see on your screen, with their blue, silver, and black setup. It looks absolutely amazing. I feel with this kit, they really kept to the feel, to the name of the Battlehawks and what they were trying to put out there. Really clean, very well balanced throughout, and kept real good focus. But what I love more than anything is the helmet. This helmet is amazing. And yes, I know I'm an Eagles fan and I'm partial to that style of design of having the wings on the side. But if you were able to go online and check this helmet out, the sword goes down the full length like a normal helmet stripe all the way to the back. The wings extend full on. They were able to take the entire logo and put it onto this helmet in a very gorgeous fashion. This by far is my favorite uniform out of any of these XFL teams.
I'm right there with you. I think they absolutely nailed it. Getting everything together, not only just the helmet and how they designed it, but looking at the simplicity of their jerseys. They didn't try to do too much, but they weren't so basic like some of the other teams, but they had a nice little mix of the blend of colors, the silver, the kind of dark blue, almost like an indigo type color.
Like a cobalt almost.
Yeah, the cobalt really. Right. And then also throwing in the black, and that. So I love this whole kit. The dark homes, the away whites. I think they nailed it.
Yeah, I think they absolutely nailed it. This is by far, I think, the best uniform out of all of them. But we're going to take a look now at the Houston Roughnecks. I think this was also a very good kit with their red, white, and blue style setup with a lot of silver. And I think it pops very, very nicely with Houston. It's a great look and color combo, really sleek, and I love the logo. Absolutely love the logo now. Even though I thought at first it was a real big ripoff, and now seeing it actually intertwined with the uniform, it looks amazing, really solid all the way around. And honestly, I'm really glad they went with that silver helmet. It looks so well and really makes everything pop and ties everything together.
I have them ranked second, right behind the Battlehawks, and I think it's going to be. I think it's close because of the fact that all the things that you just mentioned. I love their logo. It's honestly my favorite logo of all the teams, and I like how they went with a little bit of the. They kind of ripped off a little bit of the Texans and the Patriots and kind of made a little love child of it.
I can see that.
You know what this also gives me a reminder of, and I had to look this up just to make sure I was correct.
Not talking out of your wahoo.
Right. This gives me a real big Replacements vibe. Remember that movie, The Replacements?
Yes.
I'm waiting for Shane Falco to run out in this jersey.
Oh, Shane Falco.
I'm waiting for Shane Falco to suit up for the Houston Roughnecks.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I definitely see it. I definitely see it now. That's amazing. Looking at DC's uniform for the DC Defenders, they have this nice red and white kit. Really clean, nothing too flashy for the nation's capital team, but I feel like they could have had a little bit more variety, and that's one thing I feel is very lacking. They have the all-red home unis, the all-white aways. I would have liked to see a little bit of mix of that. One thing I felt was kind of, just kind of thrown together was the helmet. I feel like they kind of just took the basis of what was on the shield from the logo, just threw it on a red helmet and said, "Day." I feel like maybe they should have went with a white helmet, really showed the shield that you are the defenders. With a white helmet, it gives that idea of purity, of being, someone that's going to be wholesome, courageous. I feel they kind of left a little bit wanting with that and kind of mix up. You don't need all red or all white. Have a, red jersey, white pants, white jersey, red pants. I think it would have worked just fine. But the bolts, though, down the side, really keeping with the defenders, and also on the shoulder sleeves, I think look real nice. And it's a real clean look.
Yeah, I have the Defenders ranked 6 out of 8 here. It is
very my number 4.
Yeah, it is very simple, but I think it's too simple. I think it's too much. It honestly looks like when you're going through Madden or any, the old college football games, and you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to make it. You're trying to make a new conference, and you're just like, you got tired of making all these teams unique. I'm just going to go with all red here, all white here. I think they just went in way too simple in the creative team mode, and I just think it's too simple to me. I would have actually liked the white helmet too. I like that point you brought up. It's just too much red or too much white for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Have to agree. All right, so next we're going to take a look at the Dallas Renegades. With this one, I felt there were some good points, especially with the helmet. The helmet, I really love the color and how it pops, especially with the logo on it. It looks really good. However, with the uniform itself, I feel the kit seems like just like a hodgepodge of Oilers and Titans inspired mess. The light blue numbers also for the away unis, I feel you could have done a better job, especially with watching these guys run around on the field. You're not going to be able to catch that light blue on a white jersey as easily. I think maybe they should have went with the dark here. But I feel they kind of just threw it together. And there's also a little theme I do want to point out with some of these uniforms is with how they have a lot of the seams and the cuts for these uniforms, it kind of leaves a little bit of block off, a little bit of corners on some things. And it keeps things really hard edged in a lot of the lining. And I think you kind of see that a lot with how the top light blue and shoulder blue kind of come out on the homes or the dark on the aways. I feel it's just too blocky, and I think kind of really takes away from the uniform.
I have Dallas ranked at number 4. They did veer away from the rest of the league as far as like how they have, because they have the top, the baby blue up top, and then it goes down to black, or on the whites they got the black up top and the white. I'm a sucker. Maybe it's just because I really like.
Maybe you are a sucker.
Maybe Maybe I'm a sucker for this style because of the fact that I really like when the Chargers do the baby blue, the Titans do I love the baby blue.
But I feel they do it right.
But I think this is fine too. Like I actually like the white aways. I like the baby blue numbers. They really pop to me. That the helmet is very unique because it's that whole powder blue, baby blue type color. The black, the numbers pop off the black. I like it. It looks much better, I think, on the darks for the baby blue. But I mean, it's good. But I think there's other jerseys that are better than this one.
I have to agree. Now we're going to take a look here at the Seattle Dragons. The Seattle Dragons have a very interesting setup here. I feel like they're kind of trying to over incorporate too many colors to try and pull this all together while also forcing the white. I think with this, the color scheme is really hard to pull off because they're just putting so much into it. The home kit as a whole, I feel, is kind of meh at best, and it's kind of all over the place with this design. I think they were just trying to incorporate way too much. And then looking at the away uniforms, it looks like a straight ripoff of either the Miami Hurricanes or even FAMU. Really just trying to get that edgy Miami kind of look to it. I feel it left a lot to be desired, and I felt that the helmet was completely unimaginative. It's just a basic white helmet with a single basic stripe and just a dragon slapped on the side. I don't feel they did a whole lot with this. I feel they could have done much, much better.
Well, the whole design, naming them the Dragons in the first place, was kind of where they were off to a rough start.
I agree.
I do see the white kit with the whole Florida Atlantic or Florida A&M, the Rattlers thing, and the Miami Hurricanes. I kind of like that a little bit, but the home, there's too many colors going on. I like they tried to integrate the orange, but the helmet, I think they were kind of doomed from the start because you name them the Dragons. If you look at the helmet close up, it looks very cool in detail, but when you see it from far away, it's like, oh, is that a clip art? Is that clip art? Is that from PowerPoint? I'm not sure where that's from.
Exactly. It kind of just takes away from the whole thing.
So it's interesting to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. I'm taking a look over here at the New York Guardians. This is one that honestly kind of grew on me a little bit. They did come in at number 5 out of these for me. I like the sleek and simple approach, but it might be too simple. That was one thing I was kind of worried about with this. But I feel like they do make it up for it in certain areas with the kit, with nice accents in the number font and the very, very solid helmet design to really tie it all together. Having the back ends of the Guardians logo kind of stretched to the back a little bit, I think it was a real nice touch. And I really love the gray away uniforms, that they went with that kind of gaudy, that gritty New York look, and having those gray aways. I think it's real nice overall.
I really like the mix of silver, black, and red. I have the Guardians ranked 3rd out of 8. They're top 3 for me. I really like what they did. I think everything works really well. I'm with you. I love the grays. The integrating the logo, having it stretch back, like you mentioned, is interesting, but it works. I think everything on this kit works really well. It just kind of, there's nothing really clashing.
Right. I agree.
Maybe the red stripe on the shoulders for the black jerseys, but other than that, No, I like it.
I actually kind of liked that red stripe just right there on the shoulder. I feel like it gave just enough pop to the rest of the jersey to make it seem like, okay, they're not just throwing, red and silver and black together. Like, I think it just gives that nice balance and helps match out the pants a little too. So I feel they did do a good balance of the color. But looking at our next team, the LA Wildcats, this is one I felt left a lot to be wanting. They ranked last for me. I felt like everything with this team was extremely unimaginative and very boring uniforms. Too basic with the home and away kits. The helmets were equally boring. Really, all you did is throw just some claw marks down the center as a stripe and threw LA on a black helmet. I just felt you could have done a little bit more with this as a whole. I really don't like that they kind of went with an all black home uniform and a black helmet on top of it. I felt it was just kind of too much. But then again, this whole thing with LA, I feel like has been on just a boring, simple approach. You stole your colors from USC. You're out here kind of running around looking like you're Bethune-Cookman or Central Michigan in a way. It just doesn't. I think it leaves a lot to be wanting. I feel like they really could have done a lot more. So
it's really funny. It's really funny that all those things that you hate about it are the things that I love about it.
Oh my god!
So I have the Wildcats ranked 5th out of 8 here, but I think it's for me it's because of two things. Mm-hmm. The dark jerseys I love. I love the integration of the helmet with the Wildcat and the simple LA. That's what LA. When you're talking about an LA team, what do they all promote? LA. Yeah. And that's what they're doing here. And I like that. I think it might be a little bit too much orange on the dark. I don't like the solid red stripe on the side, but I think that whole kit works good for the darks. I think the lights, there's way too much orange. Mm-hmm. You got way too much orange all the way down the shoulder, the side.
Yeah, I think they should have kept it red.
That's the only reason. I would have liked red. Mm-hmm. I think the only reason why I have them at 5 is because of the white jerseys. They don't work for me. But I really like the dark homes.
Well, and both of these kits, though, for the home and aways, do suffer from what I was talking about earlier with the seam cuts. You kind of end up with a point that's right over near the shoulders on the front and back. They kind of just show how these jerseys were cut. So I think it kind of also hurts this kit overall with that as well. But we do have one team left we need to talk about, our hometown Tampa Bay Vipers. And we were on very different ends of the spectrum on what we thought about this uniform. But unveiled now for your viewing pleasure, the Tampa Bay Vipers home and away uniforms. What do you think of these ones?
They rank dead last for me. I think these, I see what they were going for, because I think just like the Seattle Dragons, a lot left to be desired from the get-go. You name the team, the Vipers. We don't even have Vipers in the state of Florida.
No, we have rattlesnakes.
But the color scheme you went with shades of green and yellow. That is like, are you trying to be Oregon and Seattle Sounders? Because that looks like a love child that they just made for these jerseys. I get it if that's what you're going for. Now, the chest logo is actually a front-facing view of a viper, kind of much like if you're a wrestling fan, Randy Orton's whole
his viper
logo.
Motif.
Yeah, the viper motif. I would have liked that as the original logo. Mm-hmm. I think if that was the original logo and they changed the color scheme a little bit, I would have really liked it. But I think the V on the side is just create a team. It's really simple. The white jerseys look better than the white away jerseys look better than the dark homes, because the dark homes, I don't know what they're going for. You got dark green with yellow with light green, and it just looks ugly to me. And it sucks that that's the hometown team that we have. I'm going to support them, and we're going to root for them, and I'm probably going to get some of their merchandise because if we because we have friends there. But I think they were doomed from the get-go. Just because of the name, the color scheme, all of it.
I have to slightly disagree. I do feel they could have done better with the naming and logoing and color scheme overall in the start. But I feel with what they had to work off of, honestly, I really like these uniforms. At first, I didn't. I thought light green, dark green, it's kind of clashing. It's kind of too much. But honestly, after really sitting down and looking at these unis for a while, it really grew on me. And I kind of like the different shades of green because you are, at the end of the day, a Viper is a reptile. You kind of want to show that off a little bit with the different shades that they have been sticking to since they actually brought it in. I thought they incorporated the yellow very well. It wasn't too much. You brought it really on the face mask and a little bit of piping down the sides of the jersey and down the sides of the pants and with some of the numbering. So I think they really did well with what they had to work with. I do agree. I do really like the Viper logo on the front. Maybe that on the helmet and having the V on the front of the jersey would have been a little bit better. But I feel with a lot of what they were trying to do, I think they really captured it well. And honestly, I really feel these away uniforms are really, really gorgeous and really help set them apart because overall, I think these are the most unique uniforms out of all of these XFL uniforms. So definitely very interesting how these ones turned out. But if you agree with us, you disagree with us, you want to call us idiots because, man, why are we talking about jerseys? Let us know. Go on our social media at PCN FinalScore and let us know your thoughts on the XFL uniforms that have now been released for all 8 teams. Definitely going to be interesting come time for this season to kick off next year, 1 week after the Super Bowl. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what it's going to be like because of course you see all the hype and about. ESPN, I made this comment to you earlier this week. It's really funny that ESPN put out an article about the jersey reveal. And they got the little footballs on their sets on their morning shows and all that. Not a single peep about the AAF when they came around, but now with the XFL, it's all stupid politics, unfortunately.
Might be part of those TV contract deals too.
And that's probably a big part of it too. I would love to see XFL turn into the development team or program that they're all hoping for, especially with, the NCAA likeness thing now. Let's see how that changes things. But I'm really excited. Players report, coaches report, Super Bowl week. Right after that, we're going to get our first chance to see what the XFL is all about. I'm really excited. Can't wait to be going to see some Tampa Bay Vipers games.
Oh, I can't wait. Hopefully we'll be on the sideline.
Hopefully working with them.
Hopefully
this season, that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how a lot of that will shape out. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned with Final Score. But now we're going to change gears over to the NHL and take a look a bit at the standings. Been a little bit of moving and shaking here and there by some teams. Some have just been able to keep it on going, whether it be positive or negatively, as in the case of your Detroit Red Wings. But it's definitely been interesting so far. But we're going to start right with the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division first. The Boston Bruins are starting to run away with this division a little bit and currently second in points in the league with 46 points, currently 23-6. Have been playing absolutely out of their mind, are on a 1-game losing streak. However, they are 8-0-2 in their last 10 with a plus 35 score differential.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm bringing it up right now. My computer's being super, super slow.
Yeah, we got to get one of those for you. So if anybody out there has any ideas for a great computer and one of you want to send us one at some time. Oh, wait, is it too soon to ask for things like that?
It's know. Christmas, right?
It is Christmas. We like Christmas at Final Score.
Right? No, I got some RAM issues on this thing, but whatever.
Well, if you can't ram it, dodge it, right?
That was good. I like that.
I got my moments.
That was good. Sticking in that Eastern Conference, talking about in the second place, you got in the Atlantic Division, Montreal Canadiens. They're 13 wins, 11 losses, in 6 overtime losses, 32 points. There's a wide gap between 1 and 2 here.
Oh, yeah.
But realistically, what you're looking for is the last 10 games, and Montreal has been going in the opposite direction as the Boston Bruins. Not really great, but hey, you're still in second in the division. Top 3 from each division make it, so you're still in it for right now.
Yeah, still got a shot. Right behind them, you have the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres with 31 points apiece. The Panthers 13-9-5, the Sabres 13-11-5. Both teams really trying to get on top of one another because they are both suffering from on one-loss streaks right now. But the Panthers are 5-5 in their last 10, but the Sabres 3-5-2 in their last 10. Not looking that great. Starting to head in the wrong direction.
Yeah, the Maple Leafs right behind them at 30 points, 13-13-4. They're 4-6 in their last 10 on a 2-game losing streak, playing pretty well at home. Of course, they had fired Mike Babcock earlier this year, so they are in the midst of a regime change. But I think the team right behind them, more disappointing, our own Tampa Bay Lightning.
That's right.
13-10-3, 29 points, third to last in the division. Not playing well at home or on the road. 4-5-1 in their last 10. Just looking at some of the last games they had, they recently just had a 3-game losing streak. Lost to the Hurricanes, Capitals, Blues, all 3 very good teams. They beat the Predators, lose to the Wild, and now they're playing the Sharks tonight.
But you know what? The Lightning are one thing. They're 1-0 in shootouts. They have one shootout win, no shootout losses. So, hey, silver lining, buddy. Silver lining. Ottawa Senators right behind them, though, at 25 points, currently 12, 16, and 1. 4-6 in their last 10, currently on a one-game winning streak, but have allowed 91 goals and have a negative 15 score differential, worst in the Atlantic Division, other than your Detroit Red Wings.
Red Wings.
I can't get it out right.
Elmer Fudd over here.
Elmer Fudd are 7-20-3. You only have 17 points on the season. 10 straight losses.
We are historically bad this year.
Yes, and 0-8-2 in your last 10.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we are on pace to have the worst score differential in NHL history.
Yes, currently at negative 56. You've allowed 103 goals.
It's okay.
119 goals. Worst.
In Stevie Y we trust.
Stevie Y we trust.
We know it's going to be a process. I said it earlier in the month ago when we talked about, or 2 months ago now. Wow, time goes by fast, right?
That's what happens when you age.
Yeah. Wait, what? Age?
Age?
Speaking of which,
no, didn't happen.
Yes.
No, it didn't.
Speaking of which, we're going off track for a second. This guy's birthday was just recently.
Yes.
Welcome to 32, my friend.
Yes, 32. At least it's a lucky number for me, so hopefully it works out well. But we'll see. It's not treating me well. I got more gray hairs now.
32 is the year of the network.
32 is the new 22, and it's definitely going to be the year of the network. Got to make stuff happen.
32 is 22. I like it. I still feel like I'm 22 sometimes.
I definitely don't. My back feels like it's 80, but you know.
But anyway, we know this Red Wings is going to be. We know the Red Wings season is going to be a tank this year. You're moving forward to the next, the next season, the next couple seasons, trying to position ourselves. We just don't want to be historically bad as we are right now. It's going to be a tough sledding for Red Wings fans.
Well, just think of it this way. At least you can't get any worse.
This is true. Only where to go but up. 10-game losing streak, 0-8-2 in their last 10. Right on track.
So in the Metropolitan Division, we actually have teams that are good, like the Washington Capitals, who lead the league in points, currently with 49. They're 22-4-5, playing absolutely out of their mind. Listen to this. 14-2-1 on the road. Absolutely amazing. Have a plus 27 score differential and currently enjoying a 6-game winning streak, 8-1-1 in their last 10. Capitals are killing it.
They're on fire. They're rolling right now. And they, just kind of give you an idea, the last recent few games that they've had here, they have, on that win streak, have beaten Panthers, Lightning, Red Wings, Sharks, Ducks, Kings. So they've been very favorable in their schedule, but they're rolling. I mean, the thing is about being one of the best teams in the league, you got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat.
Absolutely.
And that's how you can get yourselves on a roll and get yourself in position to be a top spot in the playoff picture. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, they just have to hope that Alex Ovechkin does not break Wayne Gretzky's goal record, because he already said that he's going to flat out retire when that happens. So don't do it yet. I'm sure they want one more Stanley Cup out of you. Calm down. But right behind them, we do have the New York Islanders, 40 points, 9 points behind the Washington Capitals, currently 19-6-2. This team has been so-so on the road, 6-3-1 in their last 10 on one-game winning streak. But the biggest thing here is that they are 12-2-1 at home, absolutely getting it done in the Big Apple.
Absolutely. Right behind them, your own Philadelphia Flyers.
That's right. Third in the division, baby.
37 points, 16 wins, 8 losses, 5 overtime losses. Playing really well at home, 9-2-4. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10 and a positive score differential of 10.
Yeah, we had a battle for that one because we were negative to start the year, so great to see that. Right behind them in a close battle, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Carolina Hurricanes. Pittsburgh Penguins are currently 16-9-4 with 36 points. The Hurricanes 17-11-1 with 35 points. Both teams playing good hockey right now and currently on winning streaks of 2 and 1 game apiece. Penguins, though, 6-2-2 in their last 10. Carolina Hurricanes 6-4-0 in their last 10. Both teams on a current upward trend.
New York Rangers right behind them with 31 points. They're 14-11-3, 6-3 in their last 10. They're just coming off a loss, but they're just consistency for them. They're -3 in the goal differential department, but their expectations are up here, and they're playing about right here right now.
Yeah, so they definitely have a lot of room, I think, maybe to improve upon that. And we'll definitely see how a lot of that's going to shake out going forward. But right behind them, the Columbus Blue Jackets, 11-13-4, 26 points. Not playing really great on the road at 3-5-3, and have a negative 17 score differential. Let me English today, and are currently on a 3-game losing streak, 5-5 in their last 10.
And rounding out the division, the New Jersey Devils, 9-14-5, 23 points, 3-6-1 their last 10. They've lost 4 straight. We got some news about them coming up in the later part of the NHL segment on them.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting when we get to that point. But switching over to the Western Conference, we have in the Central Division the defending Stanley Cup champions, the St. Louis Blues, currently 42 points, leading the division 18-6-6. Have not won a shootout game this year, 0-3 in shootouts, but are playing pretty decent on the road and at home, 8-3-3 at home, 10-3-3 on the road, 6-3-1 in their last 10.
And right behind them, we're looking at the Colorado Avalanche. 38 points, 18-8-2. What's that?
Were you Triple H over there? Colorado Avalanche.
Avalanche.
Gonna go shave my chesta.
Chesta?
Yeah, that's how he says chest, you know. Come on, he's from Greenwich, Connecticut. Don't you know this?
Oh, you idiot. 5-game win streak for the Colorado Avalanche. We just don't care on the show. We just like to have fun.
Exactly.
And 5-game win streak for the Avalanche, 7-3 in the last 10, plus 25 in the goal differential department. That is tops in the Western Conference. And they're just playing well on the road, 10-5-1, and scored 103 goals this year so far.
Yeah, they are absolutely on fire. Right behind them, the Winnipeg Jets, 2 points behind with 36 points, are 17-10-2, 7-5-1 at home, but are 10-5-1 on the road. So again, decent little bounce there, 7-2-1 in their last 10.
Dallas Stars right behind them, 35 points, 16-11-3. They're 10-4-1 at home, 6-3-1 in their last 10, and they're just coming off a big win.
Minnesota Wild are 14-11-4 with 32 points, are 7-1-2 at home, but 7-10-2 on the road. So much better at home than they are on the road. 7-0-3 in their last 10, and are currently enjoying a 5-game winning streak.
And the Nashville Predators right behind them at 29 points, tied with the Chicago Blackhawks at 29 points for the bottom of that division. And both teams are kind of going in the same direction. The Nashville Predators 3-5-2 in their last 10. Chicago Blackhawks 4-5-1 in their last 10. However, Nashville's on a 2-game losing streak. Chicago's on a 2-game winning streak.
Yeah, definitely opposite directions in that sense. Looking at the Pacific Division of the Western Conference, the Edmonton Oilers are still leading this division with 39 points, just one better than the Arizona Coyotes right behind them. The Oilers are 18-10-3, 10-6-1 on the road for a great clip. Are 5-4-1 in their last 10, but are on a 1-game winning streak. Arizona Coyotes right behind them, 17-10-4, 38 points, are 10-4-3 on the road, plus 13 score differential, and are 5-3-2 in their last 10.
Pacific Division is very, very tight right now because right behind them, you've got, get this, the Golden Knights at 35 points, and then a 3-way tie at 32 points with the Canucks, Sharks, and Flames. Sharks kind of moving their way up, 6-3-1 in their last 10. Vegas 6-2-2 in their last 10. But the others, the Canucks, the Flames, both 4-5-1 in their last 10. The Flames, after their coach resigning and things of that nature and having all that turmoil around the team, they're actually on a 3-game win streak right now, playing very well at home, 8-3-2. And they just got to kind of maneuver themselves back in the position they were in last year.
Most definitely, and I think they're starting to get themselves into that position. But rounding out the bottom of the Pacific Division, you have the Anaheim Ducks at 12-13-4 with 28 points. Been horrid on the road at 4-7-2, but 8-6-2 at home to the Leafs, kind of split. 3-5-2 in their last 10, and the LA Kings 11-17-2, only 24 points on a 3-game losing streak. Negative 24 score differential, and have not been able to get it done. That score differential is the worst in the Western Conference. 2-11-1 on the road, so the Kings trying to find some answers going forward. So definitely very interesting in hockey right now. A lot of moving, a lot of shaking. Teams that we thought were going to be good early kind of stumbled out the gate, but are quietly and slowly moving themselves up the rankings, including my Philadelphia Flyers. So it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how a lot of this shakes out going forward. But at this time, we're going to switch gears over to some NHL news. What do we got?
And we were talking about the Devils, the New Jersey Devils, earlier just a few minutes ago, and they've been really struggling on the year, and not only are they one of the worst teams in the NHL right now, they have just fired their coach, John Hines, hours before their game on Tuesday, and they named Aline Nasreddine their interim coach. It's probably pretty close,
good.
right?
Sounds good.
But New Jersey, we mentioned the start that they've had. They're one of the worst teams in the NHL. At the time of the story that was broke on Tuesday, they were second worst in point percentage as well as goal differential. They fired that coach. They had really high expectations. They were third worst in the NHL in offense, the league's fourth worst power play, and the second worst defense. So they had all those moves in the offseason that they were hoping to make a step forward. But Hines, still, he had one of the better unfortunate records of Devils coaches. He did. I think, second most wins in team history, but his record in 354 games was 150 wins, 159 losses, 45 overtime losses.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't work in your favor when you have a 487 clip. So definitely interesting. And then more interesting, the Devils are open to trading their veteran winger Taylor Hall after all of this as well. So seemingly trying to make some moves to try and either improve the team or open up cap space later on. It's not definite, but they said they are open to it. Nothing has happened yet. And Hall is currently in the final year of a 7-year, $42 million contract. So definitely would probably try to clear that off the books if they can.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for a lot of other teams, is the fact that he doesn't have a bunch of years left. He's at that deal. He actually signed it with the Oilers a number of years ago, was involved in a trade 2 seasons ago to go to the Devils. But that last year of that contract is, if you're a playoff push contending team, that could be an option for you. He's only got that last year. It's basically a rental, and you could try to make that push for the playoffs there. He is leading the team in points right now as well for the Devils.
And I wonder, maybe this is also kind of a move to kind of solidify their new draftee that they brought in. It could be that, but I feel like the Devils have so much going on right now as an organization. They really just kind of find their way and just kind of hope to get to the offseason maybe even at this point.
Well, I mean, and they brought in PK Subban earlier in the offseason as well. They were hoping to make a step forward, and it just hasn't happened. It's just, sometimes it's how it goes. Look how the Sharks started. They had to turn it around, and the Devils weren't able to do it. So, at this point, you got to make a decision. Do we want to try to make a push and turn things around, which maybe they're trying to do?
Well, it might be.
Or maybe they're just talking about they're going to trade Taylor Hall. All right, let's just kind of chalk it up for an L for the year and then worry about next year.
Exactly. Just get the experience in where you can. But now we're going to switch gears over to the NBA and take a look at those standings. The NBA has been having a lot of interesting storylines happening, some of which we'll touch on a little bit. But looking at the actual standings, we're going to start in the Eastern Conference. Our number one team right off the rip, the 20-3 Milwaukee Bucks, been playing out of their mind, are currently on a 14-game winning streak and have a score differential of plus 13.6, which is top in the league. Milwaukee is just really clamping down and been playing just absolutely amazing, and a 13-2 in the Eastern Conference.
They're just too long, too athletic. They played the Pistons earlier this week, and watching parts of that game, Pistons didn't necessarily play too horrible, but you're playing against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, they being the Milwaukee Bucks. Like I said, they're just too long, too athletic. They can cover a lot of ground. Giannis, whether or not you want to talk about his 3-point game or developing 3-point game, the guy is an absolute beast at any point on the floor, in transition, on the offense, on the defense, doesn't really matter. He is the catalyst for this team, and that's why they're off to such a hot start.
Yeah, and I get really worried because Magic have to play them in 2 days, so it's going to be very interesting coming that game. But at number 2, we have the Boston Celtics, currently 16-5, 3 games out of first place in the East, are undefeated 9-0 at home and 10-2 in the conference. Current 3-game winning streak, have been playing really great basketball as of late. And
they really need that to stay pace, because you've got Miami over there, you got Toronto up there. You've got to really put yourself in a good position because this team is now, in my opinion, built to make a playoff run.
Yes.
And you need to get on these clips. They're trying to get everybody healthy again. And, they've been doing all right. Like you said that 3-game win streak there. Definitely.
One of those wins being against the Heat too, so definitely helps with their case with what they're
absolutely
trying to do.
Speaking of the Heat, they're right behind them, 16-6. They're 3.5 games out of first place. They're still undefeated, 9-0 at home, and 4-0 against their own division. 11-2 against the East. So they are 7-3 in their last 10. They're still on a roll. They've been probably one of the more surprising teams in the East this year.
Oh, most definitely. Right behind them are defending NBA champion Toronto Raptors, 15-6, 4 games out of first place. I've been playing really well even without Kawhi Leonard. 10-3 in their conference. Just playing really great. 9-3 in their conference. Playing really great basketball, especially at home where they're 9-2. Have a +7 score differential, so they've been able to really cap it out, but are currently on a 2-game losing streak. But are 7-3 in their last 10. I know Pascal Siakam is really trying to push this team, even without Kawhi Leonard, to try and still show why they won the NBA championship.
I mean, really look at. I've seen his name in the MVP conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's having that good of a year. So props to him on developing as quickly as he has. And that's been a big reason why Toronto is where they are right now.
And he's averaging 25 points a game, just making magic happen. So we'll definitely see how a lot of that goes or will work out going forward. Philadelphia 76ers, though, sitting 5th, 15-7, 4.5 out of first place, are also undefeated at home at 10-0, 10-3 against the conference, but are 5-7 on the road. So that might be something they have to worry about maybe going forward. Currently on a 1-game losing streak, but are 8-2 in their last 10.
Next team right after that, we got Indiana Pacers, 14-8. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They are currently on a 1-game losing streak. They're playing for positioning in that division. Obviously, you're not going to beat the Bucks, but
no, definitely not.
They've been playing well at home. They're 9-2 at home, but they need to play better against their own conference. They're only 9-7 against the Eastern Conference, and in a weaker Eastern Conference, you need to have a good record against your own conference.
Absolutely. The Brooklyn Nets right behind them at 12-10. Not been playing the greatest basketball, but are 7-3 in the last 10 and have won 2 straight. Are the first team in the East in the top 8 that has a negative score differential, but they are a team still trying to make a push and still trying to make some noise.
Absolutely. Right behind them, our own Orlando Magic, 11-11. They finally got to 500 again.
Yeah.
Last night on the road against the Cleveland Cavaliers, giving them their first 4-game win streak of the season, which is great. They are on that 4-game win streak right now. They're 6-4 in their last 10, and just kind of looking at their schedule, having lost on. Sorry, that was the beginning of the season. They're having that 4-game win streak. They've beaten Golden State, who's been surprisingly bad. They beat Washington on the road, Phoenix at home in a thrilling game, actually.
Oh, very thrilling.
Aaron Gordon having 32 points in that game.
Oh, yes.
But Cleveland, that's a big win against a struggling Cleveland team. But now, like you said, next up, they're at this next stretch of games that they have is going to be really tough. They're playing in order: the Bucks, the Lakers, the Rockets, the Pelicans, the Jazz, the Nuggets, and then Portland before being at home to Chicago right before Christmas.
Just to touch on Orlando a little bit, the one thing that I feel that they need to really help get them to where they want to go is they need to find more scoring. They only average 103 points a game. That is worst in the league. Mm-hmm. Not even their conference, not even their division, the league. So they need to be able to find some more answers. The one thing that has been saving them is that they do have one of the better defenses score-wise because they only allow just under 103 points a game, which, believe it or not, best in the league. So definitely very interesting to see this team that's very, very strong defensively, but it just can't get it done offensively. They can just find a little bit of shooting, a little bit more shooting, maybe on the perimeter, maybe a little bit more in the paint. They might be able to get something rolling, but injuries has been a big issue for them too. Vucevic being out. Yep. Aaron Gordon was out for a little bit of a spell as well.
Al-Farouq Aminu's out until at least February 1st. Vucevic, actually, they're going to get back. It is expected to be around December 20th, so right before Christmas, after this big stretch of tough opponents. But I think that's okay, because if you don't play well against that stretch of opponents, you're going to get Vuce back right around Christmas. Hopefully, you're going to have some lesser talent coming in, such as Chicago. And then, in about a week, they'll play Atlanta Hawks, mixed in with a couple of tough games the Sixers and Bucks there, but they really need to, I think by getting Vucevic back, it'll help move the ball on offense, because that's what he does, is he can play everywhere on the offensive end. He can extend, shoot from the mid-range, shoot from three if he's open. He's a very good passer. He's very good with his back to the basket. So that is it's a bright spot that the Magic have been playing well enough recently with him out.
Absolutely. And even when they get him back, they're still going to have a tough stretch of games with Portland, Philadelphia, Milwaukee on the docket, and even a later date with Miami going into January. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team will shape up, but they really got to find some scoring. That's really their weak point right now.
Yeah, and Fournier, to his credit, he's been playing so far this season 30 minutes a game, 19 points per game, almost 20 points per game. And that's really what they needed out of him.
Yes.
He's been very up and down. He's shooting 44% from three, which is, if I'm not mistaken, that's got to be close to a career best for him right now.
I believe it is.
And he needs to be the catalyst for the offense, because of the fact you've got other players on this team that are either very streaky or they're still developing. Markelle Fultz, Augustine, Jonathan Isaac. Terrence Ross is very streaky, so you got to have somebody that's consistently the guy to go to.
Right.
And Fournier is showing that so far this year.
And I think he definitely can be that guy going forward. But looking at the teams that are on the outside looking in, the Detroit Pistons and Charlotte Hornets, 9-14 and 9-15 respectively, have not been playing great basketball on the road whatsoever, but have been halfway decent at home. Both teams kind of traveling in an opposite direction. The Detroit Pistons currently on a 1-game winning streak and 5-5 in their last 10, but the Hornets 3-7 in their last 10, having lost their last game.
Yeah, and touching on the Pistons a little bit, I mean, they're in middle of the pack in both offense and defense, points per game and opponent points per game. They just need to find an identity. They still don't have one. They haven't had one for a while. They had that big win where Drummond had another 2020 game.
Yep.
He has, if I'm not mistaken, he's got 5 of them now by himself. The rest of the league has 7. But that's what you got to look at. If you have a guy like Drummond on your team, that he's going to put up a double basically every single night.
Yep.
But the question for him is his decision making, and he tied with the team high in points with Blake Griffin at 25 last night. So that's having everybody together is really going to help. Blake Griffin's only played 11 games this year. Derrick Rose has played in 18 of their 23 games. So they need that consistency from everybody if they want to at least make a push for the playoffs. Because right now they're still in that unfortunate, purgatory of being just good enough to maybe not make the playoffs or squeak in as an 8 seed, but they're not bad enough to tank to get a top 10 pick.
Exactly. They're just stuck in that just real crap area that Magic actually found themselves in a couple of seasons ago. But the rest of these teams, though, have just been struggling all the way out, whether it be the Bulls, the Wizards, the Cavs, the Hawks, the Knicks, all of them on losing streaks, the Knicks on an 8-game being the worst of them all. And all these teams are just traveling in the wrong direction, none of which have been over 500 in their last 10. It's been really bad sledding. And the New York Knicks, it's just been horrible. They even fired their head coach. Yep. It's been really bad now. They're 4-18. So it's definitely gonna be interesting going forward. We'll definitely see how it works out, but it's going to be a lot of change, I think, for some of these teams on the bottom, especially when it comes to the New York Knicks. Cleveland Cavaliers also apparently trying to shop Kevin Love. So it's been
that I don't think was much of a surprise. Because,
no, I don't think it is either at this point.
He's been stuck there. If it was Cleveland's choice, once LeBron left, they would have got rid of him too.
Oh, absolutely.
But I wouldn't be surprised. And again, don't be surprised. Kevin Love to the Lakers.
Oh
I called it a few weeks ago. I'm going to continue to pound the table on it. Why not?
I can't come up with an argument against it.
And the Lakers, speaking of Lakers, they're top of the Western Division at 20-3. You add in a guy like that at Kevin Love, who is another 3-point threat. Is it going to happen? No, probably not. But I mean, if you're a Lakers fan, why not bring in a guy that LeBron knows, trusts, is a consistent guy?
It makes sense.
Why not?
Oh my gosh.
But the Lakers, they're rolling.
The sense you make.
They're rolling. I know, right? They're rolling 9-1 their last 10, 3-game win streak. They won last night in Portland against a struggling Trailblazers team, and they by far and away right now look like the best team in the league outside of the Bucks.
Most definitely. Lakers been absolutely on fire. But right behind them, the Dallas Mavs, who've been in one of the biggest surprises this season, currently 15-6, 4 games out of first place. Currently on a 4-game winning streak, 9-1 in their last 10, and don't look now, 10-3 against the conference. So it's definitely been playing some great basketball. And a lot of the recent wins have been really good in this 4-game winning streak. A win over the Suns, a big win on the road against the Lakers, beat the Pelicans, beat the Timberwolves. So this team is definitely one to watch out for. So we'll definitely see what happens. Of course, they've had a little bit of bad news as Satnam Singh suspended for failing a dope test. But does that matter? No, because this team still rolls even. So we'll see what happens going forward.
Half game behind them, the Denver Nuggets sitting at 14-6 or 7-3 in their last 10. They are just coming off a loss. Coming off a loss at Boston last night, and this team still, playing well. Like I said, 7-3 in their last 10. They have one of the better defensive points per game stats in the league. So that's really been a testament to what they've been doing, is playing good defense throughout the whole part of the season, which is why they are sitting in the top 3.
Yeah, the LA Clippers come in at number 4, 16-7. 4 games out of first place, are 13-1 at home. Best record in the West for a home record. Playing really great basketball, averaging 114 points a game, getting it done. However, they are on a 1-game losing streak, but are 8-2 in their last 10.
Houston Rockets right behind them, 14-7. They're 5 games out of first place, averaging 120 points per game. Astronomically high numbers here.
Yeah, I think that's best in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Just behind only Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's the only one ahead of them. So 8-2 at home, 6-4 in their last 10, coming off a win. Of course, they had that oddly discussed game against the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to cover that in a minute.
Yes.
But that game, having lost that double overtime, bounced back with a win, and they are sitting in the top 5 in the West.
Right behind them, the Utah Jazz are 12-10, 7.5 games out of first, 8-2 at home, but only 4-8 on the road. But even worse, 9-6 against the conference. Definitely going to need to improve on that clip if they plan to have any type of a real playoff push later on in the season. Currently on a 3-game losing streak, 4-6 in their last 10, and they just lost to the Lakers in very demoralizing fashion.
Yeah, they got crushed in that game. That was
bad.
That was a really, really rough game to watch if you are a Jazz fan, going up against one of the top teams in the West, and a team that you might see in the playoffs if you make it. The next 2 teams behind them, the Phoenix Suns and Minnesota Timberwolves, both sitting at 10-11, 9 games back out of first. Both teams trending in the downward direction, 3-7 in their last 10 for both teams. Kind of where we expected, actually, with Phoenix's early push in the season. If it weren't for that, they'd be sitting at the bottom of this conference. But Minnesota playing well at home, 7-4 here. I'm sorry, on the road, not at home. Playing well on the road, which is surprising for a lot of teams that they play well on the road, not at home. But they're sitting right there in the playoff hunt. Right behind them, 3 teams with 9 wins.
Yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Portland Trailblazers, 9-12 and 9-14 and 9-14 respectively. All these teams trying to make some kind of push. San Antonio currently on a 2-game win streak. Oklahoma City also coming off a big win themselves. When they went at home to take on the Timberwolves, ended up winning that one by 12. But can't say as much, though, for the Portland Trailblazers, who just lost that really big game to the Lakers. So also suffered an injury through that. So it's going to be interesting to see where that team kind of is going forward, but still starting to get a lot of chemistry with Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, and speaking of him, how good has he been since he's started playing? 9 games, he's averaging almost 17 points a game. He's only shooting, 43% from the floor, but he is, 3rd in scoring right behind Lillard and McCollum. And if those 3 guys can get that chemistry, Carmelo even said himself that he's just trying to fit in with those guys. He's not trying to come in and take over and do whatever. He just wants to come in and help and contribute. And I think that's a really positive change in attitude for him, which is really good because he is hands down one of the best offensive scorers we have seen in this era of basketball, this generation.
Oh, absolutely.
He's one of the best scorers, and you can tell that there's a big difference, a big boost in energy when he's out on the court because he can do it. Yeah, he's got to ISO a bit, but he can score almost at will, even in his mid-30s.
Yeah, because this team still does belong to Damian Lillard and to CJ McCollum. These have always been the front two for this team. But Carmelo Anthony does add that nice accent because you got to think he's third in scoring on this team in points per game. He's only played in 9 games, and he's only plays about 31 minutes a game. So he's also third in time on the floor. So he's really trying to do everything he can, and Portland is trying to take advantage of that. How many teams do you think that are kicking themselves right now thinking, man, we could have picked that guy up and had a nice compliment to our team? But now you got Portland that's able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and other teams, if you got to think about Houston Rockets when they had him, that it didn't work well. You got to wonder who was to blame there, because if Carmelo had that attitude when he was playing in Houston, why wasn't he playing?
Exactly.
I mean, like, that you can't tell me that his scoring ability on the floor is not as good as, whatever his attitude was off the floor. Now, if he had the same attitude in Houston that he did in Oklahoma City, where he laughed at people for, I'm not sitting the bench, I'm going to start. If he had that attitude,
oh yeah, no,
absolutely, that's why people stayed away from him and teams stayed away from him. But if he's, turned the corner in the twilight of his career and still able to play as well as he does, score at will, a lot of teams are definitely going to be kicking themselves, man, we probably should have went and got him.
Yeah, probably. But looking at the bottom 4 teams of the Western Conference, you got the Sacramento Kings, the Memphis Grizzlies, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Golden State Warriors, all with 8 wins or less. Golden State pushed themselves now to 5 wins, or 5-19 on the season, but it's just been horrid for all 4 of these teams, all currently on losing streaks, except for the Golden State Warriors, who did win their last game, surprisingly. Golden State's been just absolutely demoralized, but did pull off a 2-point win against the Bulls to break their losing streak, but are 3-7 in their last 10. But it's just been demoralizing for this team. But it's funny, they're still averaging more points than the Magic. So
yeah,
doing something, I guess.
The one bright spot that you have to look at if you are a fan of the Golden State Warriors, which I'm sure a lot of the bandwagon fans are gone already. So the hardcore fans that are out there, this is for you. Eric Paschall.
Oh, yeah.
Who has played, he's been a really big bright spot for this team. Played in all 23 games, started 17 of them. He's averaging 17 points a game. He's shooting 50% from the field. And as a big man, shooting 30% from 3, which is not bad.
And Glenn Robinson also has been one that's been coming up as of late. He scored 20 points in their most recent game. But hey, you got to look at it.
That's struggle. That hurts for me because
I know.
Him being a player from Michigan, a lot of us Michigan fans felt he left too early. He was too raw, and it showed. He basically was more of a glorified dunker when he was in Indy. Came to the Pistons, did not play well, basically ran him out of town, and now he's still going to be. I don't think he will hit his potential. No. As much as I think his ceiling, people had his expectations too high because of who his father was.
I agree, but I still think the ceiling is high enough that give him a few more years to develop. I think he could end up being a really great contributor. He's only averaging about 12 points a game right now, so it's not like he's huge anyways, but they're just Golden State's in a position where they're having to rely on guys like him and whoever else they are able to find in the arena to play for him at this point.
But to his credit, he's still 25 years old.
Yes.
He's in his 5th year in NBA.
Yes.
A lot of guys don't hit their stride in the NBA until about year 5, year 6. Look at Steph Curry.
Yeah, exactly.
Steph Curry really lit it up starting in the 6th year of the NBA. It's you got to get your strength there. You got to get the feel of the game. And with Glenn Robinson moving around as much as he has, it's really going to hurt your progress too, to try to be a professional at all times when you're changing teams so much. So obviously, I hope he really succeeds and does well here because not only for the Michigan connection, but because, he's still a young guy who's really raw and, but there are a few bright spots on this team for the Warriors.
Oh, absolutely.
If that's what you're looking for. And plus you got Draymond Green he's played in 15 games. He's not really completely healthy.
Right.
Steph Curry's out. Klay Thompson's out. It's
so
going to be
much
rough
against him right now.
D'Angelo Russell has only played in 12 games this year. This team is not at full strength. They're going to struggle.
But you know who does have a bright spot? one Houston Rocket, James Harden, who hits our NBA best of the week. James Harden versus the Spurs on December 3rd played absolutely out of his mind in a 135-133 double overtime loss. He ended up having 50 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds, was 11 of 38 from the field and 4 and 20 on 3 points. But here's the big thing. He shot an NBA record for most free throws made without a miss, made 24 of his 24 free throws. Absolutely amazing. You know I love my free throw shooters.
The one thing that I mean, it's commendable, the fact that he got to the line 24 times, made it all 24 shots. The only thing that I really struggle with whenever watching him, he's really good at acting and drawing fouls.
Maybe he'd be good in wrestling eventually.
Hey, Karl Malone did it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But, in that game, the big thing is, he scored 50 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, but they lost in double overtime, and he shot horrible from the field. Yeah, less than 50%. Really bad. He shot
less than 30%, 33%.
29% from the field and 20% from 3. And he had a plus minus of -3 in that game.
Yeah, it was bad.
I don't care how many points you score or how many free throws you shoot. You're not going to win games when your plus minus is negative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big problem of why I think Houston is not going to make the NBA Finals or not going to make it very far in the playoffs, because you got guys that shoot so horribly from the field. And also to note in that game, Russell Westbrook only shot 23% from the field, 7 of 30, 1 of 6 from 3, plus minus of -8.
Yeah, they were playing really bad in this game, but this game had a lot going on with it, which is a nice little segue into some of our NBA news, because this game was extremely controversial near the end, as there was a no basket call during this game on Tuesday night, and Harden had dunked on a breakaway with 7:53 left in the fourth quarter, where it was called initially as a no basket due to the officials believing the ball didn't make it clear through the net, which the refs later admitted was a mistake.
Yeah, if you watch the clip, he's coming on a breakaway. He kind of does a little mini tomahawk thing, and it hits the rim so perfectly that it basically goes down like through the net, but
and up and in.
But the net brought it back over, and then it sat on the rim and it got tipped out. I think what hurt James Harden in this is that after that happened, he started running after the ball as if he thought he missed it. But then after they blew the whistle, he's like, "No, we made it, made it." The refs look at that and they go, "Why'd you chase after the ball then?" That's what they're looking at. But it clearly went through the basket. This is a huge error by the referees. But with this, how many times do we see they make goaltending mistakes where they call goaltending that wasn't, or vice versa? Do those have an outcome on the game? Not necessarily. This thing happened with 8 minutes left in the game. They were up 13 points at the time, and the Rockets blew a 22-point lead that night. So the big reason why this is such newsworthy, the Rockets are now protesting. They want the league to either overturn the call and give the Rockets the win for that night, or replay the final 8 minutes of the game.
I mean, even if you overturn the call, it becomes a tie game. So why are we even going to go down that route?
No, because what they're saying is that they should have added them 2 points at regulation.
Oh, okay, I got it. I see what you're going for. I see what you're going for.
So that's what they wanted. But even then, it's only happened most recently in 2006 was the last time this happened. David Stern made the decision because they forced the Hawks and the Heat to replay the last 53 seconds of the game. 51 seconds of the game, because Shaq had been incorrectly fouled out. They said he had been fouled out, but he only had 5 fouls. So they replayed the game. The next time they met each other, they just played the final minute before the next game started.
That must have been so weird for fans in attendance in that one.
Yeah, it really was. It really was weird to watch and pay attention to. But the Rockets want to playing this final 8 minutes of the game. No.
I don't see that happening.
Quit crying, because here's what happened. The final 8 minutes, you were up 13. You blew a 22-point lead. The Spurs outscored them 34-18 in the fourth quarter. Here's the thing. Stop Lonnie Walker. He had 19 of his career-high 28 in the fourth quarter. and all the horrible shooting that you saw from Harden and Westbrook, their shot selection was atrocious.
Especially late.
What about that? Like, don't blame the referee because they missed 2 points. Maybe if Harden would have played better or shot better, or maybe if they would have played defense, which they don't know how to play.
No, they don't.
You would have won the game. So stop crying that you want the game to be replayed. Give us a win, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to win the NBA title anyway, so don't worry about it.
Oh, man. Just letting them have it. Look at you go today.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I spit the truth.
Is it you talk sports and know things?
I do. I talk sports, I drink, and I know things.
All right, Tyrion, calm down over there. All right, so we're going to go ahead.
About the same height.
Man, you self-burned yourself on that one.
I do. If you can't self-burn yourself, I mean, what's the point?
At least you can laugh at yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, I can laugh at you too. It's always fun. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this week in sports history, and this is going to be a good one. So first off, December 7th, 1985, the 51st Heisman Trophy is awarded to Auburn running back and future LA Raider Bo Jackson. Yeah, buddy.
Incredible athlete.
Incredible athlete.
One of the few two-sport professional players.
And you know what? I love seeing him on Heisman House, especially like the stuff that he does with Baker Mayfield.
He's got a funny personality.
He really does.
Yeah, I like it. I like the comedy writing that they got for him. December 8th, 1940, the NFL championship game at Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C., Bears beat the Redskins 73-0. It's the most one-sided victory in NFL history. First NFL title game broadcast on national radio.
And well, it was really awesome to listen to it by Bears fans because, man, that was a whooping. December 9th, 1926, the U.S. Golf Association legalizes the steel shaft golf club, replacing the old wood style they used before.
Can you imagine if golfers still use wooden golf clubs?
Oh, my gosh.
Like Tiger Woods would shatter a club on every drive.
Every drive. That'd be insane.
Some of the ferocity that these golfers swing with now is insane. Those wood shafts wouldn't stand a chance.
Bet you they double as great baseball players.
Yeah. On that same date in 1985, San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Jerry Rice breaks the NFL streak for 100 plus consecutive games with a reception in a 27-20 loss to the LA Rams at Candlestick Park.
December 10th, 2005, the 71st Heisman Trophy is awarded to USC running back Reggie Bush, but Reggie Bush would later forfeit that trophy under a huge agent scandal while at USC.
We were talking about this yesterday at work. How talented were those USC teams?
Oh my God, they were amazing.
They were so talented.
Matt Leinart, Lendell White, Reggie Bush.
What was
the defensive players?
Malaluga.
Yeah. This is right coming off the heels. Yeah, Clay Matthews. Gosh, so many great players.
Taylor Mays, the safety?
Taylor Mays, yes.
They had so many good players come through that program. I know we're missing a few.
Definitely
but December 11th, 1951, New York Yankee great Joe DiMaggio announces his retirement from baseball.
December 12th, 1965, Chicago halfback Gale Sayers ties the NFL record for most touchdowns in a game with 6 in a 61-20 victory over the San Francisco 49ers at Wrigley Field.
Chicago was spoiled with having some of the greatest running backs of all time.
They really were.
Gale Sayers, Walter Payton, just to name the two.
Detroit was spoiled to have one that they couldn't use to win a championship. My gosh.
Well, that's just more of the organization's fault.
That's ownership at that point.
That's organization's fault. December 13th, 1936, the final Boston Redskin NFL game. They lose to the Packers 21-6 and then end up moving to Washington, D.C. to become the now Washington Redskins.
That's right. December 13th, 2007, the Mitchell Report is publicly released listing the names of 89 Major League Baseball players that had presumably used anabolic steroids and human growth hormones. Notable players that were on this list included Roger Clemens and Miguel Tejada.
And most likely, part of the reason why guys like Roger Clemens will not make the Hall of Fame.
More than likely. But now we're going to take a look on over to our good old Give or Go.
All right, I'm going to toss this first one up to you, Chris. I know you love talking about this subject.
Oh, I do love talking
Houston
about this
Texans have stated that they will play the 2020 season without a GM again. Give or go.
I'm gonna give on this one, but just for a moment, because the thing with this whole entire situation is that you never want to try and have a team be led without a GM. You got to have a focus, you got to have a direction, and your head coach is not your GM as well. So you kind of wonder what they're doing at this point. But they are doing basically a GM by committee in the front office, and have been able to use that to get to an 8-4 record, 5-1 at home. So Houston's been playing some really good football, especially with Deshaun Watson and dealing with injuries. Have been able to make it happen, but 2 years in a row. Are you really going to tell me you're not going to go and hire another GM for another calendar football year? Like this, that's kind of ridiculous to me. What are you going to do next? Tell me that the owner's now just going to be able to get any player he wants because we don't have a GM. We can just make it happen. No,
actually, you know who's running? Ridiculous. You know who's running GM duties there behind the scenes? Bill O'Brien.
More than likely, and they're using the 4 people they say are the GM by committee as just a front to be able to do what he wants. But honestly, I can't knock it because they're 8-4. They're in the lead in the AFC South, and they're making stuff happen even without J.J. Watt being on the field. So, and they got rid of Jadeveon Clowney too. So hey, hats off to you. All right, Craig. Michigan jumped from unranked to number 4 in the AP top 25 rankings, then lost to number 1 Louisville 58-43. Was the ranking deserved?
Absolutely, the ranking was deserved. Now look at what Michigan's done. You could watch this game against Louisville and be like, well, they lost to this number 1 team. They shouldn't have been ranked in the top 5. Michigan has rattled off wins over Iowa State, who was 5-3 at the time. Mm-hmm. They won 3 games in 3 days in the Battle for Atlantis tournament. They beat Iowa State 5-3, then number 6 UNC by 9, and then crushed number 8 Gonzaga by 18 points to win the tournament. Oh, and by the way, earlier in the year, they beat Creighton, who's been a good basketball power right now, 6-2. They won by 10. By the way, yet again, Creighton just beat number 12 Texas Tech. So that's a signature win.
That's a good case.
In this game, that was the 4th game in 7 days for Michigan. They were on the road at the number 1 team in the country. They traveled to the Bahamas. They went home for like a day and then traveled on the road to Louisville. I'm not necessarily too worried about it because for Louisville, that was only their 2nd day in that same 7-day stretch. It was at home. And here's a couple. I know you like stats.
I love my stats.
Here's a couple stats for you.
You got to pull out a book. You actually wrote in it.
Oh, yeah.
Man, this is getting old school. I like
notes. I make notes. So in this game, Louisville won 58-43, right? So they won by 15. Louisville's been averaging 78 points a game.
Okay.
They only scored 58. They've been averaging 49% from the field. They only shot 36% from the field. They've been averaging 38% from 3, only shot 21%. They've been averaging 11.5 turnovers per game. They only committed 8. Michigan has averaged 13 turnovers a game. They only committed 10. Assists in this game, both teams have averaged more than 15 assists per game in the season. Michigan only had 6. Louisville only had 8. This is a product of Louisville is one of the best defensive teams in the country. And look at what Michigan did just last night. They scored a basically a school record points in a conference game. They win at home 103-91 against Iowa on the back of shooting 55% from 3. They held Iowa to 20% from 3. And their center scored a career high 44 points, a Chrysler Center high 44 points.
Oh my goodness.
And so, I mean, are they one of the best teams in the country? Absolutely. Should they have been ranked before that? Absolutely. Are they going to be in the running for the Big Ten championship this year? Absolutely. Big Ten, best conference in college basketball this year, hands down. But I love this ACC Big Ten matchup that they do every single year. Of course,
it's good.
Duke played Michigan State. Your Notre Dame played Maryland earlier this week.
And lost.
And they lost, but Maryland, top 3 team in the country.
Top 3 team, yeah. You can't argue with that.
You can't argue with that. So, did they? Yes, they lost, but all the circumstances given, they absolutely still deserve to be a top 10 team in the country.
Definitely.
All right, I'm tossing this next one up to you. Portland Trailblazers announced that they are amending Carmelo Anthony's contract to make it fully guaranteed. give or go?
Oh, absolutely give, because you know what? He absolutely deserves it. Carmelo Anthony's been able to come in and been able to be a great contributor in a very humble fashion for the Portland Trailblazers. He's averaging almost 17 points a game, almost 6 rebounds a game, and almost 2 assists a game, and has been able to be a great role player for when they need them, to be able to complement CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard for this Trailblazers team. And let's not forget, he also won NBA Player of the Week. And, oh, yeah, he's been able to play as well as be able to lead in points when they played Chicago back on November 25th, led the team with 25 points in a 117-94 win over Chicago on the road. So Carmelo Anthony definitely can still get it done, and I think Portland definitely made the right move, locking him up for the rest of the season and making sure they have that nice veteran presence going forward. But throwing this next one to you, David Fizdale has been fired by the New York Knicks. Give or go?
Go, just because look at the past. Look at the past teams in New York Knicks history. Their last winning season was 2012-13. They had 54 games won on the year. Since then, they've gotten no better than 37 wins. This is not necessarily an issue for David Fizdale as much as it is how the team is built. Obviously, James Dolan, a guy that we've crushed multiple times on this show.
Oh, most definitely.
He's even said that no matter what, the team's still going to make money. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what fans think, doesn't care what anybody thinks. He's going to do what he wants to do. So David Fizdale, unfortunately, fired based on circumstance. They didn't help him out. They went out and got some of the worst free agents they could get instead of trying to rebuild this team. It's unfortunate, but it's part of the business.
Most definitely. Now, we got one left. We're going to throw it to both of us. Yeah. Minor League Baseball rebranding. We're going to have to give on this one a little bit.
I know, because I know you're going to go on this because you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But the reason I want to touch just for a second, because I like the uniqueness of minor league baseball. The Connecticut Tigers, which is a Class A short season affiliate of the Detroit Tigers, they held a contest to rebrand the team. And, they were the Connecticut Tigers, whatever. But the winning name of this team,
oh my gosh,
is the Norwich Sea Unicorns. Now, have you, and I'm sure, I'm guaranteed, because it's probably the first time you're seeing this.
Most definitely.
Here's the logo. And here is the secondary logos.
This is almost as bad as when they rebranded the Daytona Cubs into the Daytona Tortugas.
See, I like that. And I'll even do you one better. This is, I think, on the same level as when they changed the name from the Suns to the Jumbo Shrimp. I like the uniqueness of minor league baseball. You have to find a way to differentiate yourself. Because, you're talking about minor league baseball is contracting.
That is true.
Why? Imagine, remember there's a lot of the unique promo nights. Mm-hmm. The
Tortugas, most notably, they always have Star Wars night or something like that.
That's really basic though. Everyone does that.
Not everybody does Star Wars night. Okay, hold on.
Everybody does.
All right, well, they do a more exciting one that was food affiliated, where they actually made their whole uniform into the food that was of the night. So
my favorite ones.
That was a fun one.
My favorite ones are
Pizza Night, I think it was.
Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp did Florida Man Night.
Florida Man Night.
I was at that game and it was hilarious. They literally come up with the most obscure Florida rules or laws, and they broke them during the game.
Oh my god!
And it was hilarious. One of the teams that I used to work for their GM, and this is it's kind of minor league baseball. They did a selfie night.
Selfie night.
But here's what they did. The jerseys they wore that night were selfies of fans that were based around using the hashtag of the team name.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
And it was really cool. But those kinds of things are what you get with minor league sports, and having unique names like this, I think only add to the awesomeness that is minor league baseball. That's the reason I wanted to give on that.
I can't argue with that because kind of sitting here and letting those logos kind of seep in a little. It's not too bad.
There's one more too. Speaking of rebranding, there is a new one. It's the Fort Myers. Oh, what are they called now? They're called the something Muscles.
Oh my gosh.
The Mighty Muscles. The Fort Myers Mighty Muscles. They are.
Say that 10 times fast.
They're a Class A advanced team for the Minnesota Twins. They play down here in Fort Myers, Florida, and it's great. It's so funny. They have, remember the meme of Arnold Schwarzenegger and the other guy. They do the arm class where they're like flexing. That's one of their secondary logos.
Is it really?
Yes. We're going to share this on our Facebook and Instagram and all that this week. That's going to be hilarious. The Fort Myers Mighty Muscles. I love these names for for minor league baseball. I love it. I love it.
I can't argue with it. It actually is quite entertaining. It's too good. You know what? But we got to stop there. We're going to go ahead and move on to the week ahead. Oh, my gosh, all this baseball. So this week ahead, we obviously have all of our conference championship games. Just to take a quick sit rep. Baylor is currently leading 13-0 at halftime over Oklahoma. Oklahoma was playing great in the first quarter and then just literally started blowing it in the second quarter, especially after Baylor's starting quarterback went out and the backup has come in and threw a touchdown pass. So it's been very interesting. Central Michigan is now up 14-10 on Miami of Ohio at halftime, playing real great one up there in Detroit, and Appalachian State up 35-17 on Louisiana at halftime. It's going to be real interesting. I think App State's definitely going to take that one at this point, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah,
college basketball today. Number 12 Arizona, undefeated 9-0, is trailing the number 18 Baylor, who's 6-1, 47-37. That's on ESPNU. There's about 7 minutes left in that game. Tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN2, number 20 Colorado, undefeated 7-0, traveling to Lawrence, Kansas to play number 2 Kansas, 6-1. Kansas favored by 10.5 in that game. Tomorrow in college basketball, we have Florida State is in action in conference play against Clemson. ACC, huge matchup. Number 7 North Carolina at number 5 West Virginia. Virginia on the ACC network, defending champ Virginia. I apologize, Virginia fans. And Gonzaga, number 9, traveling to number 22 Washington, 7 o'clock ESPN2. College basketball, some huge matchups this weekend.
Most definitely. And let's not forget hockey as well. The Philadelphia Flyers currently playing the Ottawa Senators. Philadelphia up 2-1 right now at the end of the first period. But there's also going to be some interesting matchups tonight, like Boston at 12-3-6 taking Colorado Avalanche on at home, who are 18-8-2. Should be a very exciting matchup. I'm getting so tongue-tied right now. So much going on.
That.
I'm getting excited for sports. That's what it is. It's so awesome.
Tampa Bay Lightning are in action tonight at home against the San Jose Sharks, who have been playing really well recently.
Yeah, and our defending Stanley Cup champions are going to be taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs at home at 7 o'clock as well. So definitely a lot of good games are going to be happening. But let's not forget, too, that next week we will also be having episode 40 of Final Score. That's right. We are turning 40 in episodes, not in years, because I'm already old enough. I've already celebrated one birthday. So
you've already celebrated enough for your birthday.
I've already celebrated more than enough. But we will be having episode 40 next week. Hopefully, maybe debuting something new and exciting. Guess you will.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Just have to come see and watch episode live on Facebook Live next week at facebook.com/PCN Final Score. You can also search us on all of our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PCN Final Score. Hold on, I got to do it, and you know I'm going to.
Do it. Click it.
Right there.
Do it.
Right there, PCN Final Score. Make sure you check us out. Give us a like. Give us a follow, check mark for the notifications, and more importantly, give us a rating. Let us know how we're doing, because we want to try and bring the very best sports show that we can to you, the fans. And also, don't forget all of our myriad of content platforms, whether it be Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, or Google Play Music. Just go on and search keyword Final Score. Give us a like, give us a follow, check for notifications. That way you can get the update every time we drop some new episodes. And we do it weekly, so we're always dropping something. And gotta do the arrows here too. Yeah, definitely make sure you check it out right there. But I am Chris, that guy's Craig, and you just watch Final Score. You have a great night.
Podcast City Network.